particularly in high-risk and volatile areas, noting that there is currently no token of appreciation for the remarkable dedication, service, and sacrifice made by the Kenya Defense and Special Forces, acknowledging that it is important to accord a special privileges and honor to our military and veteran personnel, akin to the practice observed in other countries, including being allowed to access services like banking hall and boarding of flight ahead of the general public. Further acknowledging that this practice will not only instill sense of pride among the Kenya Defense and Kenya Special Forces personnel, but also enhance their morale and motivation, thereby boosting their performance and commitment to our nation's national security. Recognizant of the fact that recognizant of the fact that there exists no national policy or framework to facilitate the implementation of such practice, now therefore this House urge that the national government through the Ministry of Road and Transport encourages local airline to establish a priority boarding protocol for Kenya Defense and Kenya Special Forces personnel, which grant them the privilege to board local aircraft before the general public. Honorable Speaker, let me thank you for giving me this opportunity to move this motion. It is my belief that members shall debate motion soberly and support it. I also wish to convey my condolences to the family of immediate former Chief of Defense Forces, General Ogolla, and the other KDF officers. Indeed, as a country and resident of Lamu East constituency, we have lost a great man and a woman and women who had passion for our country and a desire for peaceful and secure Lamu East. Honorable Speaker, I wish to state that Lamu County in general and Lamu East constituency in particular is the most affected place on the issue of insecurity because of Al-Shabaab militant. The residents of Lamu East have been deprived of essential government services and basic rights because of insecurity. Schools in Basuba ward have been closed for more than 6 years. Hospitals have been without doctors and medicine because of issue of insecurity. Our roads have been rendered impassable because of issue of insecurity. Government aid cannot reach our people because of insecurity. It is only through the KDF forces that our school in Basuba ward were reopened. It was only through them the medical officers and medicine can reach the residents of Lamu East. It is only through them that some boreholes are being constructed in Lamu East. It is only through the KDF that teachers of Basuba ward are airlifted to the school and back home during their midterm break and during the end of the term. In fact, KDF are the source of livelihood to the people of Lamu East constituency, and without them, life can be very miserable. Honorable Speaker, His Excellency the President, while conveying the news of the sudden death of immediate former CDF and other militant officer in his address to the nation, reiterated that selfless dedication and commitment of the men and women in uniform in serving and protecting this nation against any external attack to the citizen and their property. Immediately after the remarks, several colleague members of Parliament joined the President in mourning and praising the service of the deceased officers and their dedication to their beloved nation. While I welcome the move by the colleagues in mourning and recognizing the important role that our Kenya Defence Force play in safeguarding our nation, I wish to request, Honorable Speaker, I wish to request that we celebrate them and honor them while they are still alive. It is disheartening that Kenyans, we only wait for someone to die for us and praise them while we are doing nothing to honor them and celebrate them when they are alive. It is very crucial to recognize the selflessness and dedicated services by these officers who exhibited unwavering commitment, courage, and sacrifice despite the numerous challenges and risks they face in line of their duties. While I'm requesting through this motion is that we allow these men and women in military to have the privilege of boarding aeroplane, standard gauge railway, and being served in banking hall without being subjected to the routine queues. In doing so, Honorable Speaker, we are going to motivate them to work even more in ensuring the peace and harmony prevail in our country. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the work of KDF is not restricted only to Lamu East and West Pokot, but everywhere in this country. In this regard, therefore, I request all members of this House to pass this motion as it is and collaborate with the Ministry of Transport to come up with the necessary legislation to ensure that legal provision is set to allow the members of KDF and special forces to be given a priority in airport and special forces to be given a priority in our airports, bus station, banks, and all other public institutions. They may go to seek service. I therefore urge this House to support this motion. Honorable Speaker, I therefore beg to move and request Major Bashir to second this motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I want to, as I second this motion, I want to thank Honorable Rueda for bringing up this motion, which generally talks about priority boarding protocols for Kenya Defence Forces, Special Forces, and the veterans as well. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, let me also join Kenyans and especially this House in paying my tribute to the late General Ogolla and the other officers who died in a tragic aircraft accident. Kenya indeed, and Kenya Defence Forces has lost a gallant general in the name of General Ogolla. And I think to ensure that his life is well lived while he was in the military, we need to articulate some of the things that he has done when he was alive. And this kind of protocol will be one of the things to do it so that in his memory, this country, and especially this House, has done something for the officers. Honorable Speaker, General Ogolla is actually the first general in the history of Kenya to die in office. And not just to die in office, but to die in active duty. It has never happened before. And therefore, that shows that he was one of a kind, whereby he liked to go into the field, he liked going to be with his troops at any time when he has the opportunity and space. Honorable Speaker, coming back to this priority boarding protocol for Kenya Defence Forces and the veterans, this is very, very critical because it's a way of honoring the men and women who serve in our country, defending our borders, and engaging in activities that actually threaten their own lives, while ensuring that the lives of Kenyans are protected, both within and outside the country. This kind of priority protocols are observed in other countries, and it's something which is just to honor these men who sacrifice their lives. Remember, some of them are sent outside the country, are sent to places within the country for a year, 6 months, a year or so, without being with their families, without being with their relatives, without being with their communities. And yet, they do their job, come back, and ensure that our country is safe. So this kind of protocol is just to say, it might not be so much, but is a way of honoring our men, especially the Kenya Defense Forces, who sacrifice a lot. There's so much that they do that the Kenyan public might not be aware of. When you see them in the barracks, you might think that these guys are just in the barracks, A, B, C, D. But remember, on a continuous basis, these guys are either out in the field, out in training, or out in operational areas, or outside the country serving UN peacekeeping missions. I speak from a point of information because I'm knowledge. As I stand here, myself, I'm a former Kenya Defense Forces officer. I served in the Kenya Defense Force, and I know what it takes to actually become an officer or a member of the Kenya Defense Forces. The sacrifice that they make to contribute to the security and well-being of Kenya is enormous. And therefore, I will urge the House to support this priority boarding protocol for them as a way of just to honor them. What they do for this country is, as I said earlier, is enormous. Of course, it's part of their job, but the sacrifice is too much. I want to plead that this protocol be supported, be approved by this House, so that the ministry or the government department concerned takes up from there. In other jurisdictions and other countries, when you are actually at the airports, if you have been there, you will hear announcements being made. Military personnel, military veterans, please come forward, please do like this, ABCD is announced. And in some airports, actually, where it's written like priority boarding passes, business class, so forth, and UN or diplomats, there's also a spot for veterans. It's the same line with the diplomats and other senior personnel. This can happen also in Kenya. It is happening in other countries, even in African countries, some of them. In Europe, in America, it happens. So I think it is important that we also do the same to honor our men and women in service and those also who have served, just like some of our colleagues here who are also served in the military, myself included, so that we can be able to say, yes, we did our job, we did our time in the Kenya Defense Forces, and those who are continuing are also doing the same work. So as a second, I want to plead with the House to ensure that this priority boarding facility or protocol for Kenya Defense Forces and the veterans is passed so that we honor them. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I second.
Hold on, let me propose the question first. Honorable members, I now propose the question that aware that Article 239 provides for the national security organs, including the Kenya Defense Forces, further aware that the Kenya Defense Forces and the Kenya Special Forces play an indispensable role in promoting and safeguarding the national security in accordance with the Constitution, recognizing that the members of the forces face life-threatening risks as they carry out their duties to protect our citizens, particularly in high-risk and volatile areas. Noting that there is currently no token of appreciation for the remarkable dedication and service and sacrifices made by the Kenya Defense Forces and Special Forces, and acknowledging that it is important to accord certain special privileges and honor to our military and veteran personnel, akin to the practice observed in other countries, including being allowed to access services like the banking hall and boarding of flights ahead of the general public. Further acknowledging that this practice would not only instill a sense of pride among Kenya Defense and Kenya Special Forces personnel, but also enhance their morale and motivation, thereby boosting their performance and commitment to our national security. cognizant of the fact that there exists no national policy or framework to facilitate the implementation of such practice. Now, therefore, this House urges that the national government, through the Ministry of Roads and Transport, encourage local airlines to establish a priority boarding protocol for the Kenya Defense and Kenya Special Forces personnel, which grants them the privilege to board local aircrafts before the general public. Yes, Honorable Melly, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on standing order number 971, noting that this is a very important motion that I beg, because it has a lot of interest in the members, I beg to move that, notwithstanding the resolution of the House made on 14 February 2024, this House limits the debating time to 5 minutes per member, pursuant to that particular standing order. Madam Speaker, you know that we are still in a morning mood, and there is a lot of interest in this motion. Therefore, by allowing it to take 10 minutes, it will actually reduce, not actually have enough members to talk. So I propose that we reduce the talking debate to 5 minutes per member. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I propose the question that the debating time be reduced to 5 minutes per member, including Leader of Majority and Leader of Minority, to 5 minutes, in accordance to Article 97(1), you said. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. So that is there for 5 minutes per member. And I think we'll start with Honorable Haika.
Asante sana Bispika kwa kunipatia hii fursa niweze kuchangia katika mswada huu, lakini kabla sijaanza Bispika, nataka kuungana na taifa la Kenya na wajumbe wenzangu, hata mimi kuweza kumwomboleza shujaa Jenerali Ogolla ambaye tulimpoteza. Na Bispika, nataka kusema ya kwamba nitoe rambirambi zangu kwa niaba yangu binafsi na watu wa Taita Taveta kwa familia ya Jenerali na hata kwa taifa lote la Kenya na KDF, majeshi yote ya nchi hii ya Kenya. Nataka kusema pole sana. General Ogolla ameombolezwa kama mtu ambaye alikuwa weledi katika kazi yake, na vile vile alikuwa kipenzi cha wengi. Alikuwa kipenzi cha wakubwa na hata wadogo. Alikuwa kipenzi cha tajiri na maskini, vile vile watoto na hata wazee. Na kwa hivyo ni pole kwa wote ambao wanaendelea kumwomboleza. Nikirudi katika mada yetu ya leo ama mswala wetu wa leo, nimpongeze sana dadangu Mheshimiwa Captain Rueda kwa wazo hili ambalo ameweza kulileta hapa bungeni tuweze kulijadili, kwa sababu hili ni jambo lingeweza kufanyika kuanzia hata jana, na kwa hivyo ni tulifanyie kazi mara moja ili liweze kuanza kutekelezwa. Majeshi yanafanya kazi kubwa sana katika hii nchi na yanastahili heshima ipasavyo. Tunajua kazi wanayoitekeleza katika nchi yetu ni kazi ya muhimu ambayo hatuwezi kuirudia kuitaja hapa, lakini basi tunapozungumzia wao kupewa kipaumbele kwa shughuli mbalimbali ama kupewa kipaumbele katika mambo mbalimbali nchini ama huduma mbalimbali, ni mambo ambayo kwa kweli wanastahili wafanyiwe hayo, kama kuweza kuabiri ndege mbele ya kila mmoja, mambo kama kupata huduma za benki mbele ya kila mmoja ama kupewa kipaumbele, ni mambo ambayo wanastahili kupewa kwa kweli. Tumetembea nchi zingine mbalimbali za Ulaya na tumeona hayo yanafanyika. Tumeona hata nchi ya kama kule ukienda Amerika, ukienda kwa maduka mbalimbali, ukienda kununua vitu, wanakuuliza kama wewe ni mwanajeshi. na ukiwa ni mwanajeshi wanakupatia ile discount katika vile vitu unanunua, wako na discount yao speciali. Na lakini hapa katika nchi yetu bado hatujaweza kuyafanya hayo. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema huu mswada umekuja wakati wa sawa, na ni jambo la kuungwa mkono kwa sababu ni jambo la heshima kabisa katika wanajeshi wetu, na ni vema tuweze kulifanya kulingana na ile huduma hata wao wanapatia nchi yetu. Wameweza kuweka amani, wameweza kulinda nchi, na kwa hivyo hiyo si jambo ya kuweza wao kusema kwamba inakuwa uzito kwa nchi kuifanya. Kwa hayo basi nataka kusema hata mimi nachukua fursa hii kusema kwamba naunga mkono huu mswada ya kwamba hayo yaweze kufanyika. Asante sana Bi Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Russo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me on the onset thank Honorable Rueda for this very important motion. I think for those of us from KDF, soldiery is one of the oldest professions. It comes from Latin. A soldier is the man or woman who fights for their government and carries the weapons, risking their lives in the process. The word from Latin, solidus, which is the name of the gold coin used to pay soldiers who fought in the Roman army. Madam Speaker, what this motion talks about is about the character of the nation. Honorable Rueda's motion speaks to the heart of the country, that we must see the good things about our country and celebrate it. When KDF is deployed in any part of the country, truly that part of the country is disturbed. But what the citizens of Kenya, wherever they are, once they receive the KDF troops, they begin to feel the safety and comfort that normalcy is going to prevail. And that is how much Kenyans hold their forces in awe, esteem, and with a lot of confidence. What this motion asks is what basically civilized nations provide or give those who pay the ultimate price with their lives. Madam Speaker, in KDF, what we used to say is that generals walk on water. We almost believe that they are immortal because they are well protected, they are always guarded, their headquarters are secured, they move in very secure transport. And when General Ogolla was visiting his troops in Marakwet, he was doing the tradition of what generals do, to visit their troops and to give them confidence that the job that they are doing is noble and they are carrying out their duties, civic duties of protecting lives and property. And that was his assurance to the soldiers and also the Kenyans. But in the process, he lost his life together with those great men and women who accompanied him. Many talk about how did this general die in this aircraft. There is a lot of speculation. But what I want to say from my experience of working in KDF and also very close to generals, General Tonje and many other great generals who served Kenya with distinction, is that generals travel in a very safe transport. That is really taken care of. They are driven by first-class drivers. They are piloted by the best pilots that are there in KDF. So for that reason, what we as Kenyans, without speculation, we must give KDF their day to come up with proper investigation about how did that air mishap actually happen. Finally, on this particular motion, I think we as Kenyans, we must begin to appreciate those who give their lives so that we are safe, so that Kenya is safe. When we are talking about KDF, we are not talking about any other force. We are talking about the safety and sovereignty of the Republic of Kenya. When we go out to other nations, in America in particular, when they are calling for boarding.
Allow him 1 minute, Colonel Russo.
When they are calling for boarding on airlines, they will first call veterans and those in uniform. That is how much they put price tag or respect on that. For that reason, I beg my honorable colleagues to support this motion so that it is etched in our country that this is the character of the country and we respect it and we follow it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Vihiga, Honorable Beatrice Adagala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to support this motion by Honorable Rueda on the establishment of our priority boarding protocol for Kenya Defense Forces and the Kenya Special Forces personnel on our local airlines and even other places, Madam Speaker. These are men and women who have given all their life to take charge of this country, our borders, to ensure we are safe as a nation. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I think if this priority is given to the KDF men and women, it will be an honor and a respect to the men who serve in the forces. Madam Speaker, also, since these people work for us in various stations and various corners of this country, Madam Speaker, I hope and I believe the government is going to look at this, and especially the ministry concerned, and ensure that our KDF men and women are given priorities in boarding of in our airports and even all over, and even in the buses, so that at least when the officers are given priority, they're able to reach their designated workstations early enough and deliver their mandate as well as per our need. Madam Speaker, I also want to use this opportunity to give my condolences to our KDF general who perished the other week, and even the other officers and their families. On behalf of my family and the people of Vihiga County, I send my condolences, and it is very sad for us as a nation. And therefore, these men and women who serve in this force should be given the necessary respect and the necessary priority in everything, so as to let them also have comfortable life and comfortable movements as they move around. Madam Speaker, we have moved actually to other jurisdictions in this world. We've seen their force men and women being given priorities in everything. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I think Honorable Rueda has brought this motion at the right time, and I would support and urge other members actually to support these men and women who do a great work for our nation. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, next, the Honorable Member for Samburu West, Honorable Lesuda. Okay, the Honorable David Ochieng, member for Ugenya.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Rueda for this very timely motion. Madam Speaker, it's even a shame that this kind of a protocol could be something that we have discussed on the floor of this House, Madam Speaker. This should be something that goes without saying, that as a country, how we treat our armed forces, how we treat those who serve the country is very, very important, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, our military has come into the spotlight in the last few days, Madam Speaker. But throughout the things that we do in the country, process we do, the budgeting making process, Madam Speaker, we've endeavored as a country to ensure that our defense forces are very well taken care of. Madam Speaker, what is important to do, in my opinion, in this country is to live by what we've set for ourselves under Article 10 of the Constitution. Now, Speaker, this, for me, should be the beginning and the end of how we run affairs of the country, Madam Speaker. The day we decide that we will run this country based on a shared set of values, a shared set of principles, based on patriotism, based on integrity, based on the need to ensure that we take care of each other, Madam Speaker, ensuring that all of us growing together, Madam Speaker, builds the country, is the best way to treat all citizens of this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's been so disheartening this last 1 week when we mourn the CDF, a gentleman par excellence, cool guy, would not do an offense, Madam Speaker. But speculation is now rife about how his death occurred. How, for example, there could be fatigue in the military. There's a lot of people flying using military aircraft. Or there was this aircraft that was supposed to have carried him and didn't carry him. Madam Speaker, this is happening because we are slowly treading on a very dangerous path, Madam Speaker. We are almost politicizing our military. One thing that we've done as a country very well has been to keep our military off politics, Madam Speaker. And I wish this remained so. I would advise all politicians in this country, from the top down, that let's keep the military out of politics. Let's endeavor to ensure that these guys remain how they have been. Professional, with integrity, doing their job the way they do. The whole world respects our military. We can't bring that image down. Now, Speaker, doing what the Honorable Rueda is proposing here would just be one of the ways of honoring our soldiers in the country. The second way, Madam Speaker, would be how we recruit them. And again, in the last 5-6 years, Madam Speaker, we've had issues of how we recruit our military staff. This again has been handled, Madam Speaker. We should always ensure that that part of our public service and public sector is left to be run like the clockwork. It's the best we can do for the country. Kenya is not just a small country. Kenya is probably the biggest military in this part of the world. And if anything happens that undermines their integrity, undermines their preparedness, undermines their stature as a formation, Madam Speaker, it will be worse for this country. And so I want to request those who are concerned, and I believe, Madam Speaker, this should just go without saying. People who work for airlines, and Madam Speaker, you see this a lot, even yourself when you travel. You get to the airport, you have to say, my name is David Ochieng, member for Ugenya. Then you have to get your ID. If you don't have one, issues arise. Tell them, I have this one on my phone. And everyone now has gone technology-wise. They still tell you no. And this, for me, is largely because of the loss of values, the loss of things that bind us, things that we share. If this country, again, Madam Speaker, to repeat, could live under what we agreed to do under Article 10 of the Constitution, then this country will go very far. So I want to request those who are concerned the Human Rights Commission, the Cohesion Commission, the Ombudsman, all these people who are concerned should insist more on ensuring that people understand and know what we set out for ourselves under Article 10 of the Constitution, and let Kenyans live by it. I do support, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Beatrice Ilache, member for Dagoretti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to appreciate Honorable Rueda, but also to thank her for bringing in this motion, Mr. Speaker. A motion that I know is needed to just ensure we bring back sanity on how we respected those who have given service in our country. And Mr. Speaker, even as we continue eulogizing our CDF and all the other military leaders who have led us in different countries, especially those who have fallen in Somalia, imagining their wives, their children. And I can see, yes, the request is to see how the Ministry of Roads and Transport and Airlines can establish priority boarding protocols for the Kenya Defense and the Kenya Special Forces. But also we need to look even beyond that, Mr. Speaker, because after that, your father has passed on fighting for your country, flying that flag. What else can you give this child? How can we ensure in this house we support those families that their children will also continue getting support from government just to ensure they finish school and they are able to move on, Mr. Speaker. So even as I support this, Mr. Speaker, this morning, I want to really emphasize that there is need. In America, there is nobody who is as special as a person who has defended their country, Mr. Speaker. And you come back, you find the families are protected, their children, and they are remembered. And even there's a holiday in the month of May where they celebrate them in Thanksgiving, and you find the country remembering their heroes. For us, after we are done, we have buried our CDF. After that, that is the end of Africa. We never remember anyone. We don't even remember the family. Nobody will remember Aileen. Maybe only the ladies who grew up within and were families when she was getting married within the same. And so it is time we have to change our attitude. The same way we are here, Madam Speaker, let us change our attitude and respect every leader. Be it the former president, be who, let us respect them. Let us give that honor. And especially when a soldier has fallen in war, it is even worse. That is when we must respect completely and remember that family. So, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, Mr. Speaker, how I pray. You know, yesterday when I was eulogizing CDF Ogolla, and for some of us who we had an opportunity to really have the side of a CDF and the side of a normal person. I mean, I said yesterday, how I wish we can understand that indeed there's something that happened that has never happened in our country. And you know, we are taking it for granted. And nobody even remembered at that time in Nigeria, 2 years ago, we had fallen soldiers where they also, in the same type, in the northern side of Nigeria, they had the same tragedy when they lost all their soldiers. Same time, same month, same. It's only that 2 years and this is here. And so for me, I want to say, Mr. Speaker, as I support this motion, I am hoping we shall see those priority lines, that we shall have a policy, and also look where they are. Today we are having disaster. If they are the best people in the army, those who are retired, we should be looking for them to come and support us in many of the things that we are facing. And so, Mr. Speaker, we don't need to just retire them, but we need to bring them back and use their expertise, give them some duties to do so that we see. And they will support us. They are the best engineers. Right now we are struggling with water. I want to tell my governor, go and look for the retired generals and engineers that we have in the military to come and support us in Nairobi, and you will see things changing. And so, Mr. Speaker, for us, while we do all that, let us remember their children in school. Let us remember to have a priority going forward. We must learn from this tragedy. We had a young man who was 29 years. Are you imagining where the wife and children will be after he has fallen? They need a priority to support them. And so for me, as I continue supporting and praying for my general's soul and all the other souls, and Nyawera's soul, I am saying, let us support them. With those few remarks, I beg to support as I pray for their souls. And before his neck goes down, I am hoping we'll have cleared this Pokot and everywhere to become a desert. That is what they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Kwanza.
Mr. Speaker, Sandy Sana, thank you very much for the opportunity. I also want to take this opportunity, first and foremost, to pass my heartfelt condolence on the behalf of my family and the people of Kwanza and Trans Nzoia County for the fallen hero. Francis Ogolla, to me, is a hero, and he should go down the history as one of the heroes in this country. Looking at the way, even the way he was buried, I saw the clips, Mr. Speaker, and I said, that is a hero, because he died in his way. He was actually going to protect, or at least was trying to oversight what was happening in the area that is very versatile, and therefore he risked. And indeed, that risk was seen, and therefore he passed on. I just want this opportunity to say Pole, and of course, on the behalf of our people, he is gone down. Now, this motion is very, very appropriate because, Mr. Speaker, we know the armed forces risk their lives to protect Kenyans, innocent Kenyans. And therefore, I think it's only fair that at least we encourage other Kenyans to be able to get into the forces, to be able to protect us in the future for prosperity. And therefore, I would think this is just quite appropriate so that at least when one is in the forces, either he is retired or is there, be accorded that special way that the move of this motion has actually suggested, because then, of course, we will be taking this as an exception case among the Kenyans. I've traveled, and in most cases, when you go to the airport, there's a VIP and what have you. By the time of voting, the announcer in their local languages, English, whatever, Swahili, not in Swahili because we don't do that in Kenya and Tanzania and other places, but in English and other French countries, I've seen that. I saw that in Southern Korea. When I was in South Korea, they actually recognize the position of these armed forces, particularly those who have retired and those who are in service, and are given the first priority. Even in terms of sitting, you'll find them sitting in a very, very comfortable seats in the plane. And therefore, I think we should actually do that because we live by examples. If you have seen this happening elsewhere, what stops us from doing it? Of course, Kenyans are also funny. Mr. Speaker, you and I know that. People take advantage where they are not even supposed to be. You're even taking advantage and, pretending that, oh, you see, I'm even a brother to Lieutenant Colonel or whatever, so I should also sit in a better place. So that, again, is something that maybe will not allow, but let's give these men and women of our society, a special recognition, so that others that follow will also be encouraged to be able to join the forces. I think that's all we need to do. But more so, I think, Mr. Speaker, the fact that these guys also face these risks as you have seen. Ogolla just died because, of course, he was doing some work, and other fallen heroes. I want to also suggest that, again, we should have at their retirement age, or the time of the retirement, they are also given some special awards so that others can be encouraged to work hard for our country. I support this motion. Thank you.
Member for Tinderet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this motion by the Honorable Obo, member for Lamu. This is a timely motion, Honorable Speaker, noting that we very recently we've noting that very recently we've had a spate of accidents involving our military aircrafts. Mr. Speaker, the issue that is before us is actually to give motivation and recognition to our military personnel, who actually play a key role in securing this country, both on land, on sea, and even the air. The military of this country is known internationally, Honorable Speaker, for having secured peace in various parts of the world, including Namibia, all in Bosnia, and many other parts of the world. That we need to give them precedence or priority is not asking too much. In giving them recognition and even noting that these are men and women who serve with dignity, this country is quite in order. And a policy has to come out, especially from the Ministry of Transport, the Civil Aviation Department, more faster, so that we actually recognize and motivate our veterans. Honorable Speaker, I remember one General Obande who was in peacekeeping mission in West Africa. The name of General Obande put Kenya in very high regard in that particular region when he was serving as a peacekeeping leader in the ECOWAS region. Honorable Speaker, we've had our uniformed officers in Namibia and many parts of the world, and they have done very well. So this policy, this particular motion needs to be moved with speed so that we have a policy framework that is going to assist in making sure that we recognize them, we respect them, and we give them priority. True, Honorable Speaker, I also want to say that our men in uniform needs to serve with modern equipment. And I want to implore on this House that this is, we are at the budget making circle. I think this is the time now we really need to have modern aircraft, modern equipment that is of the status of this country. We are a leader in the region in that particular aspect. When the 9 gallant young soldiers, the gallant soldiers passed on through a tragic road, aircraft accident, it is noted that that aircraft is about 50, 60 years old. That is actually in itself embarrassing to our country, our nation, and everyone in this country. So it's upon this House to vote enough resources. We can even have lesser equipment, but very effective and very safe. Instead of having a very old fleet where you scavenge on old aircraft to reconstruct another old aircraft. Actually, those are actually very dangerous flying machines that I remember the last exam, one of the rotors actually flew off and killed one of the examination officers in Northeastern. That is indicative of the kind of aircraft we have. It's very old, it needs proper servicing, and for those that are very old, they need to be retired, like what other nations are doing. You retire them, and have modern equipment. Honorable Speaker, we to note also that the issue that is very important is to also honor these officers while alive, while in service. Treat them with dignity, treat them with respect, treat them with all that it deserves, instead of actually giving them a very good send-off. But when they are alive, they are very old, we need to really come up as a house and have a way of respecting veterans like the US and other Western countries. I support the motion. Thank you.
And the honorable member is called Rueda Obo. She is a member for Lamu East. The member for Likoni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion by Honorable Rueda to establish a priority boarding protocol for the Kenya Defense Forces and the Special Forces. Honorable Speaker, first I'm sending my sincere condolences to the families of our CDF, Honorable Ogolla, and the other gallant soldiers who perished recently. May their soul rest in eternal peace. Honorable Speaker, our KDF personnel are very important persons because when they perform their duties, most of the time, they are doing it at a very risk areas, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if members of Parliament, the Cabinet Secretary, and other personnel from the public sector can get some priorities, especially on certain areas like the airport, the railway, the banking halls, and the bus station, why not our gallant soldiers, Honorable Speaker? I think these are the peoples which they need to be recognized, motivated, and even honored, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, apart from just doing this priority on certain areas, we need to ask ourselves, what is the risk allowances which are given to our gallant soldiers, especially when they go for operation in risk areas? Honorable Speaker, I was shocked one time when I was just consulting some personnel from the KDF, and they were telling me that they are like getting others 600 per month, others are getting about 1,000 per month as risk allowance. That is very, very little compared to the work they are doing and the risk areas they are exposing themselves, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, to note is that our gallant KDF and the Special Forces, they're not only performing security and peacekeeping mission, but they also go extra mile. For instance, during conflicts, during acute crisis, I witnessed during the Kabombo clashes in the coast region and even the Molo clashes. Our KDF, they intervene and they go extra mile to ensure at least there is peace. They also ensure that those people who are affected, they can get food, they can have food, they can have medicine, and so many other issues. Honorable Speaker, as what Mheshimiwa Rueda has just said, that our KDF personnel have performed special programs and special projects in the areas of Lamu. And more so, I know even in the areas of Pokot, in the areas of Northeasterns, they have done so many social program like intervention on schools, intervention on health services, and so many others. Honorable Speaker, it is high time we need to know whether we have a framework in terms of legislation, if we formulate some policies or we keep some regulation just to ensure that the welfare of our soldiers is taken care. I'm looking on those who are going for keep mission. For mission keeping. For instance, those who went to Somalia, there are those who went to DRC and so many other countries where they wanted to have some soldiers from our country so that they can get restoration in terms of peace. I have a good example, Honorable Speaker. I'm married to a KDF man, and he was among those people who attacked during the Kulbio attack. He lost 3 of his fingers on the right hand, and to date he has not been paid. We have been following that. It is almost 3-4 years. He has not been paid. And more so, many other gallant soldiers who lost their lives, their families have been going up and down looking for the repayment, for the payment of their dues, but today they don't have it. Honorable Speaker, I think it is high time, not only about giving them the priority areas in terms of protocol, but we need to research and know what is the welfare of these KDF persons, the women and the men who are working day and night in remote areas, in risk areas, but then how is their welfare being taken care of? I'm just looking on those who perished recently with the CDF, Bwana Ogolla. I don't know what is going to happen. I know something is going to happen from the government, but for how long? What is the time frame? They are going to be waiting for payment for the families to get some payment, to get their dues. What is the timeline? That is another area which we need to know. And if we don't legislate, or rather if we don't put some policies, then it will just be the way it has been done lately. Honorable Speaker, I think this is the right time where this motion has come, because we are still mourning. And because we are mourning, we need...
Thank you. Member for Sirisia.
Yeah, partner. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance also to contribute on this. I want to thank the member for Lam East for bringing up this motion. Honorable Speaker, first I want to also to send my condolences, me and my family, for the family of General Ogolla and the other 9 who fallen up with him in the helicopter crash. Honorable Speaker, many Kenyans do not know the importance of our military. They just see them, they think that they are just like police or any other uniformed officers. Honorable Speaker, as one of those who worked in the military, Honorable Speaker, these military officers need to be respected because they look after this country and keeping peace also in other countries. Like myself, I was in Namibia, Kenpa 2, and Honorable Speaker, they leave their families and go to work wherever they have been given orders to go and work. And they need to be recognized, they need to be respected, Honorable Speaker, because of the hard work the military officers do. We are here in this country peacefully, Honorable Speaker, because of these military people. Our country has peace. We are enjoying everything because there's no war, and these people are always, officers are always training every day, even as we speak. From 9, they go to training wherever, even if they are in camps, they are training to wait for anything that can come to attack our country, so that they get ready all the time and they are ready all the time to make sure that there is a peace maintained for our country. So, Honorable Speaker, it was sad on that very day when we saw the General Ogolla and others who fell with the crash of the helicopter. And Honorable Speaker, we are still mourning. Honorable Speaker, this country needs these people, the military people. Like this lady, I know, the Mheshimiwa who has brought this motion. I worked with her, and I worked with Mheshimiwa here. During that time, they had also a difficult time. Ladies in military, Honorable Speaker, they were not allowed to get married at that time. Not like this time. they can marry even if they are on duty, but during that time they were not allowed. So ladies in military during that time were also going through other problems which, you know, as a human being, sometimes they have desire of wanting to meet a man, but they could not be allowed. So, Honorable Speaker, people, even in this house, they don't know how difficult, the madam here, Mheshimiwa, should have said how difficult it was during her time when she was in military, so that people can, other female members can also know and realize that indeed she went through a very hard time. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I support this motion.
I don't know what you've not said, that only you know, that you laugh about. The member for Gilgil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also join my colleagues to, first of all, eulogize with the loss that we've had. The last 1 week has been a dark week since we lost our CDF and 9 others. And Mr. Speaker, I was honored to have worked with General Ogolla in the Defense Committee in the 12th Parliament and this Parliament as a CDF. And it was quite a sad way that how we lost him. I was also honored to go all the way to Ngiwa village, hosted by Honorable Samuel Atandi, to the final farewell of the general, and you could tell right from the drive from the airport how such a loss was felt by not only the family, but the community at large, and it is quite something because this is the first general we've lost in office. So I join in asking that the investigations be done so that this information can be relayed to the public. It's important for the country to move on. And also echo what Honorable Raso said earlier, that areas where there are KDF, even Gilgil, where I come from, we host 2 of the oldest barracks, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell you, even 2007, when we had skirmishes in the Rift Valley, the safe haven that many people found was Gilgil, because the presence of the army ensured that there is no fighting and no skirmishes in Gilgil. That is why many IDPs were settled in Gilgil. That's why you'll find them in Pipeline, Wendani village. You'll go to Ebenezer, Mitimingi. You'll go to IDP, Wendani in Kikope. You'll go to Barok. You'll find IDP, Mr. Speaker, because of the peace that prevailed that time. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate Honorable Rueda Obo for bringing this very important motion here, Mr. Speaker. And it is simple, that we give them their flowers when they're alive. It is okay to mourn them, but even the ones who are here, what are we doing, Mr. Speaker? And some of these things that Honorable Rueda has proposed, they are not even very capital intensive. They don't need so much money. They actually just need goodwill. They don't need budgetary allocation, Mr. Speaker. And if you go to other countries, like has been said earlier, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that even in shopping malls, you'll get special discounts for KDF, for soldiers that are serving in the militaries, and even veterans, Mr. Speaker. So this is not so hard to do. It is something that we should just actually make a declaration here, and it should be implemented. And from here, Mr. Speaker, I'll hope that this is passed overwhelmingly, and more important, the Committee of Implementation slow, and it is not followed, and it is not done. So I hope that the Committee of Implementation will be able to pick it up to ensure that even in banking halls, because it is not so hard to have them get priority, our airlines, our SGR, Mr. Speaker, these are some of the benefits that we can be able to accord our military men, and we can be able to honor them when they are still alive. I also join the Speaker, who actually gave a directive yesterday and a comment, and many others that spoke yesterday after his communication, that we also must look at the fight and the banditry that is going on in the north, in the Kerio Valley, Mr. Speaker, because this General Ogolla was a celebrated fighter jet pilot, Mr. Speaker. He has fought many wars outside this country, only to die in a helicopter within the borders of our country. And why was he in the Kerio Valley, Mr. Speaker? Because we are not able to maintain peace ourselves. And Mr. Speaker, we have the national intelligence, we have the military intelligence, we have been able to contain the headless, the faceless Al-Shabaab somehow, but we are not able to deal with bandits, Mr. Speaker. I think it's time, as we said and the Speaker said yesterday, that the leadership of these areas, the counties that are affected, Turkana, Samburu, West Pokot, Baringo, and Laikipia, Mr. Speaker, all of them and the leadership take action to ensure that we wipe out this issue of banditry so that we give even our children a chance to go to school. We give the area residents, women and children, a time to have their families together, because the people who suffer most are women and children, Mr. Speaker. Then that way we'll be honoring General more, because he was there to ensure that these kids go to school, and because he was a hands-on, I know many people are asking why was the General out, looking out at schools. But Mr. Speaker, if you knew General Ogolla, you know he was a hands-on leader. He wanted to know what exactly are the soldiers doing in the field, and what are they doing in terms of implementing what has been decided, issue of reconstruction of schools, redoing of roads, Mr. Speaker, and that is how he met his death, doing what he really wanted for his soldiers. So, Mr. Speaker, I eulogize and join the country in mourning these fallen soldiers, but also support Honorable Rueda's motion, which should be actually, after passing of the motion here, should be implemented as early as yesterday. Congratulations, Honorable Obo, for bringing this to this floor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Bafolego Usonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the motion by the Honorable Rueda. Honorable Speaker, let me say that the role of the military in public affairs, Honorable Speaker, has expanded a great deal in the recent past. Today, Honorable Speaker, the military is involved in many of our affairs, many of our public affairs. The military is involved in even management of public institutions. There are some institutions that were even collapsing, and the military had to be inducted to help in reviving those institutions. An example is Kenya Meat Commission, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, when I was growing up, it was possible that you would join the military and you retire without going to war, because some of the challenges we are facing today, such as terrorism, local terrorism, were not there. So today, the military is doing much more than in the past. You can see that the military is involved in addressing homeland security. That was not there before. So, Honorable Speaker, the military today is doing much more. Even, Honorable Speaker, we did renovations in this parliament, and I was told that they were done by the military. Even those ones that were done in State House were done by the military. So the military today is part and parcel of our lives, Honorable Speaker. So when we are looking at the military, we should not look at the ordinary military that was, their work was to go to war, to go for peacekeeping. So we even have better engineers in the military. We have better doctors in the military. So as a country, Honorable Speaker, we need to look at the military as that arm of government or that department of government that can do much more. And I believe the military can do much more. Honorable Speaker, therefore, there's need for the country to look at, to take care of the military more than it has happened before. Honorable Speaker, you see, right now we are even having a doctor strike. If we had invested more money in training military doctors, Honorable Speaker, they could come hand in hand, especially when there's this strike and disagreements with these strikes. So, Honorable Speaker, what I wanted to say, Honorable Speaker, is that as a country, the military, by their training, they are more disciplined, and they are more likely to serve Kenyans more than other public institutions. Yesterday, Honorable Speaker, I spoke about what I think is ailing the military, the corruption in the military. And this is a fact, Honorable Speaker. If you look at even the way the military officers are being hired today, they are being hired politically, yet the military is supposed to be remain apolitical. It's supposed to be an institution that does not serve any political interest. But when it comes to hiring, you find that politicians like us are running around with recruitment forms and just picking people all over, and sending them there. We are actually spoiling a very serious institution that is supposed to serve Kenyans without any political bias. So, Honorable Speaker, what I wanted to say, in short, is that we should not tire from talking about some of these things because we need to ensure that the military remains a serious institution. Honorable Speaker, if you look at countries like Zimbabwe, they respect the military and even the veterans. I am a fan. I remain a very strong fan of the former president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, who decided that the veterans of the military had to own land. You know, he took land from the British settlers and gave them to the veterans of war veterans in Zimbabwe. Honorable Speaker, I think that as a country we are not taking care of our military and even the veterans. We need to do much more than even what has been proposed by the Honorable Rueda. We need to find ways in which we can take care of our veterans. Because, right, Honorable Speaker, we are here now. The safety that we are enjoying here is because some people are thinking about our security. And if you look at the kind of things happening even in Lamu and even the Al-Shabaab menace, the people taking care of us are the military. So our safety is in these people's hands. So as a government, we need to do much more, take care of their families and etc. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, about the recent accident that claimed the life of the CDF and many of the officers. Honorable Speaker, that was very unfortunate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that was very unfortunate. And as a country, we must say that, and we are given reasons why that incident happened. I also want to send condolences to the family of Sergeant Clifford. Honorable Speaker, I had two of the officers from my constituency who passed on in that tragedy. One of them is the CDF we have already buried. We are going to bury the next on Friday, 26th. This is Clifford, Sergeant Omondi, and I also want to pass my condolences to their family. And thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Malava.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also arise to support this motion by Mheshimiwa Rueda. This motion actually is timely, considering what is happening in the country following the passing on of our general. Mr. Speaker, these are special persons in the country because on employment or on recruitment, these are persons who volunteer their lives to defend the country. Mr. Speaker, when you compare these persons to, say, like teachers, doctors, and even myself, we don't offer our lives being ready to die for the country like these persons. So, Mheshimiwa Rueda's motion is so timely because these are persons Kenyans should really know who they are and then treat them with a lot of respect, with a lot of honor, as she's proposing when it comes even to travels, that they are given preferential treatment, and like most of us who have not really offered our lives to die for the country. However, Mr. Speaker, I would that as much as we have this proposal by Mheshimiwa Rueda, maybe this is a moment for Kenyans to really reflect on the lives of these personnel who serve our country, who have volunteered their life, that they know if they serve to the end, the age of 62 or the age of 50, then well and good, but otherwise they are ready to die. These are persons, Mr. Speaker, that I would urge, besides traveling on our flights, because I also, when I look at the persons who may have time to travel by air, this would be a very small percentage of these particular persons. Majority of these people travel by lorries, by road. I would urge the new CDF who comes in position to really consider. You see, for example, when I'm coming from Nairobi to western part of Kenya, I usually see them in lorries, Mr. Speaker, traveling to wherever areas have been posted. And I keep on wondering, why not travel? Because I also know that our defense forces have buses. Why all these particular persons travel in buses, in comfort? This is something that we need also to focus on, because this is where the majority are, and this is how the majority of them travel. Mr. Speaker, I've also lost quite a number of these officers, particularly at the lowest level in the force. And after they die, Mr. Speaker, their children remain in poverty. They keep suffering throughout, even their wives. Maybe it is something that also this force can consider, because these are persons who sign at entering the force that they will serve the country, they will defend the country, that when they pass on in the course of their duty, the government or the force can actually consider taking care of their families, taking care of their children. Mr. Speaker, the former army officer, Honorable Waluke, was citing a situation whereby females then were not having time to even make love in the forces because of the kind of rules that were there. Mr. Speaker, this is still happening in the forces, but at a different level. When we look at the officers, how they live in the camps, Mr. Speaker, it's a challenge for them really to make love or to have love with their wives, because they are staying in groups. They stay in what we may call dormitories. They live in tents. And therefore, Madam Speaker, they don't have time really to meet with their wives. They don't have time to meet with their children, because they are living kind of communal life. And this being the case, Mr. Speaker, these are persons the country should really treat with a lot of favor, with a lot of honor, because they have really offered their lives, they have really sacrificed their lives to serve the country. Mr. Speaker, also, as much as we want to give them this priority boarding facility, maybe also it's a moment for us to look at their salaries. You know, teachers, when they have a problem with the salaries, they can go on the streets. Doctors currently are on the streets. So they make their welfare or their issues known to the country, and everyone empathizes with them. But these are the people who never go to the streets. These are people who will never complain loudly anywhere. And sometimes when you look at their lives, the lives of these particular officers, Mr. Speaker, it's pathetic. I would that beside the
for Turkana West, Honorable Puyo Nanok.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi niweze pia kuchangia kwa mjadala huu. Spika, kwa utangulizi ningependa kutoa rambirambi zangu kwa General Ogolla pamoja na maafisa wa KDF ambao walifariki kwa ajali ya ndege ambayo ilitokea hapa mjini ama nchini Kenya, haswa kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, mpaka ya West Pokot na Elgeyo Marakwet. Ilikuwa ni ajali ambayo imeleta huzuni mkubwa katika nchi yetu, kwa sababu aliyefariki ndiye alikuwa kiongozi ya jeshi letu la Kenya. Na mambo kama hayo, Mheshimiwa Spika, yanapotokea yanatukumbusha mambo mengi kuhusiana, kwa mfano wanajeshi wetu, na ndio hata tunaweza kuongelea mambo ya maaskari wetu na namna vile wanashughulikiwa katika nyanja tofauti tofauti hapa nchini na hata kule nje ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikikumbuka tu kwa ufupi maisha ya Generali Ogolla, niliwahi kutana na yeye safari mbili, na kwa hizo safari mbili ambayo nilipatana na yeye nikiwa mbunge na yeye akiwa mfuasi ya General Kibochi, nilipata mtu ambaye alikuwa na heshima sana, pamoja na ukakamavu katika kazi. Mtu ambaye alikuwa anajua kazi yake na anajua sehemu ya kazi yake. Nilikuwa ninamuona kwamba ni mtu ambaye alikuwa anapenda kazi yake na maadili ya kazi hiyo. Kwa hivyo nchi hii imepoteza jenerali ambaye angetumikia nchi hii kwa kujitoa kabisa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nchi yetu na jeshi letu la Kenya KDF ina umaarufu katika dunia, sio tu katika eneo hili letu la Afrika, lakini katika dunia kwa kazi ambayo wamechukua. Kwa mfano, kazi ya kuweka amani katika nchi ambazo zimekuwa na misukosuko duniani, iwe ni South Sudan, iwe ni Kosovo, iwe ni Namibia, iwe ni mahali popote ambao wamepelekwa ama wamekubaliwa kuhudumu kama peacekeeping force. Mheshimiwa Spika, wanajeshi wetu wametuletea sifa kama nchi. Katika namna hiyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanastahili heshima zetu kama wananchi na nchi ya Kenya. Wanastahili kupewa motisha tofauti tofauti, Mheshimiwa Spika, na ndio sababu ninaungana na Mheshimiwa wa Lamu Magharibi Mashariki katika hoja hili kwamba sio jambo kubwa sana, Mheshimiwa Spika, kama wanajeshi wetu wanaweza kupewa nafasi ya mbele wanapokwenda kupanda ndege ama wanaposafiri katika ndege zetu hapa nchini wakienda nje. Hiyo heshima, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jambo dogo, lakini ni motisha kwa wanajeshi wetu, ni utambulizi kwetu kwao kwamba ni watu wa maana katika nchi yetu. Na kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapoendelea kutoa mjadala ama kuongelea mjadala huu, Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono hili hoja, na niseme hivi nikimalizia, Mheshimiwa Spika, jeshi letu lina sifa, na hilo sifa jeshi isije ikatoa katika wananchi wetu. Wanapopeana nafasi za kazi katika jeshi, wache hiyo recruitment iwe inapeana pia heshima, ili wananchi wanapoomba nafasi za kazi katika jeshi letu kuwe na fairness katika recruitment hiyo, na haswa katika eneo zetu sisi wale ambao tunatoka katika North Rift tunaweza kupewa nafasi hiyo. Watu wetu wanapenda kazi hiyo, watu wetu wana ujasiri.
Vyema na asante. Twende sasa Samburu West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important motion tabled by Honorable Rueda, and I believe it is timely. It is also an important motion for us to acknowledge and appreciate the work that our military officers do to ensure that we enjoy the safety as a country. They have done a lot of work. They have put their lives in danger and ahead of all of us as a country, Mr. Speaker. And so even what Honorable Rueda is asking for, if you were to ask me, is just the bare minimum in ensuring that we recognize them, we appreciate the work that they do, and it just gives them, just to feel that they are being appreciated and a level of prestige, Mr. Speaker. I also take this opportunity to pass my sincere condolences to the family of the late General Ogolla, whom we lost as a country, and not just it was not just any other death, but one of a committed general who passed on in active duty in the North Rift, together with all the other military officers, Mr. Speaker, and also those who are in hospital. I do wish them a speedy recovery. And what I would like to say is that once the military is tainted in any single way, Mr. Speaker, even for us as a country, it raises doubts, because we know that a CDF is not just any ordinary officer or anybody that we can just lose in the circumstances that we did, Mr. Speaker, and having speculations that there are many other officers that we have lost in the same manner, Mr. Speaker. and it is not possible that as a country we can have military officers traveling with outdated military aircrafts, Mr. Speaker. That is one way of us not honoring them. And so it is important, as Honorable Rueda has stated, that these military officers do a great job to ensure of our safety, and we must also accord them the same respect as a people and as a country, Mr. Speaker. And so the investigations into the death of these officers, Mr. Speaker, is very important, and so that it can put to rest any speculations that are abound or are being discussed in the public domain, Mr. Speaker. Having said that, I just want to say that it is important as a country and as a people. The fact that we lost a whole CDF in the North Rift, Mr. Speaker, going to inspect schools because of the insecurity in that area. It is time as a country we then say enough is enough. We put concerted efforts as leaders, as the multi-agencies, as the security officers. We put concerted efforts, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that then we have peace and security in these regions, so that the military can then focus on securing our borders, can focus in ensuring that we are all safe as a country, and not reduce them to doing work which our police officers can do, Mr. Speaker, so that the military can do the work that is designated for them, Mr. Speaker. Because if we had peace in the North Rift, probably today General Ogolla would have been with us, because he would have been doing other duties that are his responsibility, Mr. Speaker. I also want to say one thing to our officers. We respect the work that they do to safeguard us, but I just want to say that the multi-agency that are deployed, and especially the KDF who are deployed in the North Rift, I call upon them to do their duty, Mr. Speaker, because initially or in the past, when KDF was sent anywhere, or when you saw the uniform of KDF as a civilian, then you used to respect, and we all used to know that it is actually the army. It is the KDF that is in this area. And so civilians used to respect and cannot go around harassing and killing people while you have a KDF camp next to those civilians, Mr. Speaker. And so we have to see how to raise the bar of our KDF and our military officers, so that they feel motivated, and even to regain their glory amongst the civilians, Mr. Speaker, so that the civilians can respect KDF and respect the military, and cannot go around.
Thank you. Member for Sigowet Soin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity you've given me to also add my voice on this very important bill. On the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to give my full support, actually the fullest support to this bill brought to the House by Honorable Rueda. Mr. Speaker, this bill comes at the time when this country is in deep mourning following the loss of General Ogolla and the other soldiers who are with him in the helicopter crash in the North Rift region. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to condole with the families of General Ogolla and all the soldiers we lost in the helicopter crash, and to appreciate the work that they've done for this country, to appreciate the sacrifice that they've given to this country, and to assure their families that the nation of Kenya is with them during this very sad moment. Mr. Speaker, the services provided by the defense forces of our country are services that we all must appreciate. And this bill, much as it talks about boarding in airlines, Mr. Speaker, we must extend the respect that we give to our soldiers to all other public services. Mr. Speaker, I was in the United States the other day, and before first-class passengers are allowed to board, the first opportunity is given to members of the defense forces and their families. That is the kind of respect they are given. I have traveled to the United Kingdom, I've traveled to Poland. The same respect is accorded to our soldiers. Mr. Speaker, we need to, as a country, to even go beyond what we legislate, to give utmost respect to our soldiers whenever we meet them in their official attire, even in their private capacities, Mr. Speaker, so that the sacrifice they give this nation, they know it will not be in vain. Mr. Speaker, secondly, the armed forces that we have in this country have certain specialized skills in matters engineering, in matters technology, all fields that support human endeavor and human advancement. They have specialized skills. And we, as a country, must allow our officers in the army to be able to provide us with these services in hospitals, in all other institutions in which critical services are being provided, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, as we honor General Ogolla, we need to ask for proper investigations so that there is no room given for speculation following the helicopter accident, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity, and I support.
Thank you. Member for Karachuonyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me begin by thanking the Lamu West Member of Parliament for bringing this motion. It is a noble motion, a motion concerning one of the most important people in this nation and his team that is continuing with the work they were doing together. I congratulate my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Lamu West. Mr. Speaker, my next point is to send my condolences to the family of the late General. It is unfortunate that untimely we are giving a condolence to a person who ought to have been with us even as I speak today. I say my condolences. And let my condolences go to the family, to those who are related to them, and to their friends, and also to Kenya at large. I know the General played a very, very important role. And he has left a gap that, based on what I heard during the eulogies, a gap that may be difficult to fill. But then, Mr. Speaker, we gave good respect to the send-off of the late. But I'm not quite satisfied because I saw something which, to me, was surprising. We Kenyans are used to giving chances to the relatives of the late to also say something as a send-off to their departed loved one. I may not be totally conversant with the military protocol when they are sending off their top person like the General. But whatever protocol they use, it is my feeling, Mr. Speaker, that they ought to have recognized the person that gave birth to the General we were celebrating. His father is still alive, so we were told. He's 100 years, so we were told. And that alone was a good gift to the family, that the General's father has celebrated his 100 years birthday. I thought this is something that should have been told to Kenyans. Kenyans ought to have known that the man who is 100 years old is the father of the person we were celebrating on the burial day. But this was conspicuous by absence. And this left us completely surprised. Having said this, Mr. Speaker, let me also say that a lot of speculations are going on. I don't blame this speculation because General was not just one of the soldiers. He was the top man in KDF. He was a very, very important person in the forces. So his sudden departure, like what we saw, certainly leaves a lot of concern. And it is my feeling that a thorough and proper investigation must be done in order that Kenyans can feel that they have known and appreciate that the end was not caused, but the end was by the time the Creator himself gave. We are all the time told that accidents are never caused. That they never occur, that accidents are caused. Was this one caused? That is what we want the investigation for. Mr. Speaker, I see my time is up. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
I don't remember you didn't say anything about the motion at all. Member for Shinyalu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to support the motion that has been brought to this House by the Honorable Member of Lamu East, Honorable Rueda. We all understand that we have our men and women in uniform. These men and women are working day and night to ensure they not only safeguard our territorial boundaries, but also safeguard our property and our lives. I therefore want to fully support that this is a high time that we need to look into various ways and measures that will look into helping and appreciating the various sacrifices that are made by these people. I also want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to condole with the families of all our fallen heroes, starting from our General Ogolla, who perished in a plane crash, and all the officers that perished alongside him, including my county-mate, Captain Litali. It's high time as a country we look at how best we can support these families, even though it's very difficult to fill the void that has been left by these loved ones. Let us make sure that at least we ameliorate the situation by making life bearable for those that have been left behind by these wonderful people who are safeguarding our country. I also want to be quick to add that I propose that we consider making the 18th day of April a special day for this country to honor all our living and departed veterans who have given their lives to this country in the course of their duty. We all know that General Ogolla is the first serving CDF to die in office and in line of duty. What an honor shall it be that we dedicate at least a day on our calendar, being 18th day of April, to celebrate and honor him, including all the other veterans. Also, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to urge all of us to review the travel protocols of all our VVIPs, including His Excellency the President, the Deputy President, the PCS, and even our Speaker, so that safety should always be paramount when these wonderful people who are serving the country selflessly are traveling around the country and across the globe. I support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Buri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First, I would like to express our sincere condolences on behalf of the great people of Bori, knowing very well the late General Ogolla is our in-law. Mr. Speaker, we also pass our condolences to the family of the other fallen soldiers, the other 9, who have gone to be the maker when they are on duty. Mr. Speaker, the motion in the House is on local travel protocols. But I think, Mr. Speaker, this is but one of the things that we need to do for our Kenya Defense Forces. Mr. Speaker, I agree that there is need to restore the dignity of our soldiers. These are people who have sacrificed to defend our territories. These are people, Mr. Speaker, who have gone to install peace in the close the borders. These are people who have been called upon to, in the international arena, to ensure there is peace and tranquility in the world. I'm so proud of our Kenya Defense Forces. Mr. Speaker, we should not only be talking about the local travel protocols. Mr. Speaker, I'm also urging that there must be a policy where our soldiers, both retired, our veterans, and also the sitting, when they are on the private travel, they need to enjoy some travel discount. Mr. Speaker, there are lounges across the world where we travel. Mr. Speaker, accessibility of our armed forces, are both retired and serving, need to be made available for these great people of our nation. Mr. Speaker, I also urge that we need to have fast-track accessibility to all hospitals in this country. Mr. Speaker, the fallen soldiers have left behind their families. Mr. Speaker, it's the high time now, as a country, we start thinking on creating special funds to cater for the families of the fallen soldiers. Mr. Speaker, I know there are some counties where retired veterans have gathered together and formed the association. Mr. Speaker, we need to encourage the government to partner with these fallen veterans and create recreational facilities, special recreational facilities in almost every constituency in this country. Because in every constituency we have so many soldiers serving and veterans where these people can feel they are at home, where people can meet on their retirement, where people can enjoy as a group of people who have sacrificed for this nation. Mr. Speaker, we need to address the issue of special insurance coverage for our armed forces. Mr. Speaker, these are people in the front line. They have offered their lives, blood for this country. As such, Mr. Speaker, we need to be a caring nation. Mr. Speaker, I met General Ogolla. He was an ardent golfer. I played golf with him religiously for many years. Humble man. Mr. Speaker, he is married from my community. Mr. Speaker, he is a good man. He is a good man. We need to insist that once these VIPs are using some of these planes, Mr. Speaker, they need to be checked properly. They need to be fully serviced, Mr. Speaker. I therefore agree that these people need to be given special attention, not only on the flight protocols, but all other places, because these are men and women who have, when we are asleep, they are serving us. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Members, join me in welcoming in the public gallery a group of university students from various universities who come from Stahe constituency. They have come to follow proceedings of Parliament today, and they're welcome to do so this afternoon. Thank you. This chance goes to the member for Busia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I just want to mourn properly so I can come to terms and accept and finally move on. The general has left. He was buried, yes, but the truth has not yet been buried. We need thorough investigation with trusted people to carry it. I have been looking into a lifestyle of a soldier in Kenya. It is pigeonholed. They do not have a life. Everything about a soldier is grim news. It wounds me more to see how easily people can bury a general and forget immediately and try to come with narratives that gives us a scar deeper than it shouldn't be. A true soldier, especially those in Kenya, they are so exposed to toxins. I do not know how they protect themselves or what is provided to them, because most of the times we just see them in easy, simple fabric, the uniforms they wear that are not protective enough. Those who work in cold areas, intense cold, and those who are in places that cause them to be dehydrated, some of them collapse not because they were weak, but because of electrolysis imbalance in their body, dehydration. What they are given is not enough for anybody to carry the duties they do. The safety around them is a concern to me. They go through something that is called, I think, post-traumatic stress disorder, because most of the soldiers, even those who are retired and they are in the villages, they look like they are crazy, they look like they are mad, something is just a mess about them. But it's because of what they face day in, day out during their work. When I look at the pay slip and compare with what a soldier does, it is an ocean apart. I think we should improve their lifestyle, their livelihood, where they stay, because I see even in Busia some rusted shanty, round, a hut kind of, a house that it shouldn't even be occupied by any human being. But that is where, unfortunately, our soldiers live. And now seeing what happened the other day, a whole general, that helicopter, I don't think anybody even bothered to look into the mechanical side and everything else, because it is still, to me, a myth. I need somebody to unfold, put every detail openly. So as I mourn, I finally accept our soldiers are suffering, whether on the lower level or high-ranking level. Our soldiers need us to look into their status with more keenness as human beings. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Gikaria. The member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important motion. I wish to thank the Honorable Captain Rueda for such a progressive motion that she has brought before this House. Honorable Speaker, this is a perfect motion in honor of the departed CDF, the General Ogolla. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the people of the Marakwet community, the land which led to the demise of the CDF, I wish to convey my deepest condolences. And Honorable Speaker, it's unfortunate that we lost the CDF in our land. Honorable Speaker, we believe that, and I believe that the death of CDF Ogolla should serve as a pointer to the serious insecurity issues that we have in Kerio Valley. Of course, we cannot attribute the death of Ogolla to the insecurity issues, but he was on a mission to ensure that the valley is stable. Honorable Speaker, that valley, Kerio Valley, which took away the life of Ogolla, is a land under militia. And I hope we shall sit down as a country and be able to rethink on how we can be able to bring or to stabilize the issue of security along Kerio Valley. Because, Honorable Speaker, it is a challenge that as a country we must sit down and we'll be able to discuss broader ways to be able to stabilize Kerio Valley, which is prone to insecurity and which is currently under militia. So, Honorable Speaker, I hope this government will take proactive action to ensure that this particular area is safe so that we do not have incidences that lead to the loss of lives. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the letter, the intent, and the spirit of this motion. Honorable Speaker, I was brought up by a military father, and I know the challenges that the military personnel face in this country. Honorable Speaker, sometimes they do not get the fair share of the cake in terms of the input that they put in order for our borders and us to be safe as a country. Honorable Speaker, the loss of Ogolla, CDF, is a tragedy of monumental proportions because this is a man who has been eulogized as a distinguished military officer, and his life has inspired so many people, not only as a military officer, but the way he lived. He is a gentleman, and he was a gentleman and shall remain a gentleman par excellence. Honorable Speaker, CDF Ogolla, his memoirs, his name should be permanently inscribed in the annals of history of this country. His name should be permanently inscribed in the Kenya's Hall of Fame as an officer who served this country with honor, distinction, and with integrity. Honorable Speaker, insofar as the motion is concerned, in terms of order of precedence, because we passed this motion as a House, but a motion cannot give us a solution. A motion must be acted upon, and the way to act upon this motion is to pass either a regulation, a subsidiary law, or a statute. Honorable Speaker, in this House I've seen there is an order of precedence bill which has been pending before this House since 2014. We need to reconstitute and to resuscitate that particular motion and that particular bill so that we have the order of precedence recognize the Kenya Defense Forces. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that sometimes we recognize other people in this House that do not deserve that recognition. So I believe that if that bill is resuscitated, that is the order of precedence bill of 2014, if it is brought to this House, we pass, we ensure that in the order of precedence of this country, we give a befitting order to the Kenya Defense Forces so that their place in this country is reserved. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well said. Member for Luanda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity given to me this morning to also add my voice to this important discourse. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, allow me on my own behalf and that of the people of Luanda pass my condolences to the family of General Ogolla and the 9 who perished in a very, very unfortunate incident that led to the loss of life to great men that serve this country with great dedication, serve this country with a lot of loyalty, Mr. Speaker. It's unfortunate that at a time like this, we can lose our dear ones, and also great men who commit to work for this country by sacrificing themselves, by exposing and even risking their lives, Mr. Speaker, for the sake of our own peace. Mr. Speaker, I stand with these families at this point in time and that of the people of Luanda. Secondly, allow me also say thank you to Madam Rueda, Mheshimiwa Rueda, who has come up with a motion that will move a long way in recognizing and appreciating our soldiers. It is a fact that the military and the soldiers play a great role in ensuring that our borders are safe, in ensuring there's peace and tranquility in our country from external aggression. And Mr. Speaker, this is a group of people who are rarely acknowledged, despite the fact that they sacrifice most of their lives in risky environments. They work in very volatile situations, sometimes even having to lose their lives defending this nation. And therefore, the idea of establishing a priority boarding protocol for these great people is very much welcome, Mr. Speaker. And I stand to support and say that indeed it's a time that we did acknowledge and accord our gallant men and women the opportunity to be treated different for the great public, Mr. Speaker. I like the idea that we give them priority in our local airports, in banking halls, Mr. Speaker. The same should extend to our medical facilities and any other place, Mr. Speaker, that these great men and women will go seeking service. Because as you say, Mr. Speaker, these are people who need serious motivation. When we sleep in the comfort of our houses, more often than not, these men and women are out in the field protecting our borders, Mr. Speaker. When we enjoy the privileges that come with the offices, some of us home, Mr. Speaker, these men and women are never recognized and acknowledged. And therefore, this motion is timely. This motion is very much in time, more so at a time when this country is mourning the loss of dear ones, the loss of a general who was admired, a general who was a great mentor, a general who was a good example, a general, Mr. Speaker, who lived beyond what people expected, Mr. Speaker, because he was such a humble man. And therefore, this motion has come in time, Mr. Speaker, that we need to acknowledge and reward these people, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as we talk about priority protocol, let us also look at the kind of equipment our military are using. It is unfortunate that at this point in time, our soldiers continue using military equipment that are old, outdated. And Mr. Speaker, it was a high time that this country looked at the welfare of our soldiers. Because I believe and do believe, Mr. Speaker, that were we using military equipment that are modern, then maybe, just maybe, we could not have lost the dear soldiers that we lost recently. And therefore, I stand to support this motion and congratulate Mheshimiwa Rueda for having thought of such a good idea in time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you. Mwafu Kisauni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi nipenyeze sauti yangu katika mswada huu. Kwanza nimpongeze mjumbe wa Lamu.
Honorable Daud, this was your chance, but you keep fidgeting. That's why I passed you on this one. This chance was yours, but you keep fidgeting and carrying your hands up. That's why I've not given you. If you just keep your cool and keep your seat, you'll get your chance. This was your chance actually, but you keep fidgeting, carrying your papers up. It doesn't work like that. Honorable, go ahead.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwanza nipongeze mjumbe wa Lamu Mashariki kwa kuleta mswada huu, na hasa mswada wake katika uwazi ni kwamba anataka maofisa wa jeshi wapewe heshima zao, na hii sana ameileta kwa sababu ya mchakato anaoona unaoendelea katika eneo lake bunge, kwa sababu pale ni karibu na msitu wa Boni. Anawaona wanajeshi wakihangaika, anaona wanajeshi hawalali, anaona wakati wa mafuriko wanaishi katika mashimo ambayo yako na maji, wakiwa wanalinda doria kuhakikisha kwamba adui haingii kwetu. Kwa hivyo ni kweli kuwapa heshima wanajeshi ni vyema zaidi. Ni watu ambao wanajitolea kukaa mbali na familia zao, watoto wao, wakifika tu ni mwezi mmoja miili wanarudi. Kwa hivyo ni vyema sana wapewe heshima zao, na hapa amezungumzia kuhusu kwamba ikiwa wanaabiri ndege wawe wanapewa kipaumbele. Ni kweli mataifa mengi sana, nimeenda hata Uturuki, wanapewa kipaumbele sana, wanaingia ni kwa sababu wako ndani ya ndege ile ya abiria ama ndege aina yote, lakini chochote cha kiusalama kitokea, yeye anaingia kazini, hawezi kusema mimi niko leave. Kwa hivyo ni vyema sana wapewe nafasi hiyo, ingawa si wote wanajeshi wanaopanda ndege. Kuna wanajeshi wanawaya kabisa, wanapanda matatu, na wengine hata wanakwenda kwa miguu. Sasa tutafute ni njia gani ya kuwaheshimu si tu wale wanaopanda ndege, hata wale wanaotembea kwa miguu kwenye ofisi zozote za serikali zinazotolewa huduma, ili wakifika wapewe kipaumbele, kwa sababu in case of anything ama chochote kitakachotokea wakati wowote pale alipo yeye, ni lazima wataambiwa, itatoka matangazo, wanajeshi wote warudi kambini saa hizi na kuna hili na hili. Kwa hivyo ikiwa ameenda katika huduma center, ameenda katika ofisi za serikali, anapewa kipaumbele na familia yake, na anatoka pale mahali kwa haraka sana. Na pia sisi tunataka kuwapa heshima na wao waendelee na heshima. Tunawaheshimu sana wanajeshi wetu. Tangu tupate uhuru mwaka 63 kumetokea upuzi katika serikali mara mbili, pengine wakati wa mheshimiwa hayati Kenyatta mwaka fulani, na halafu ikatokea wakati wa mheshimiwa hayati Moi, mapinduzi kidogo, lakini yalikuwa muda mchache tu ya walevi, lakini wanajeshi wengi sana wanaheshima wa Kenya. Tunawashukuru sana. Na pia tusiwasahau, ningemwomba the mover wa hii motion asisahau vikosi vya usalama vya ndani, angeviingiza ndani, kwa sababu hapa ndani pia, kule nje tunalindwa. Hatuwezi kuwa na chochote ambako cha maendeleo kitafanyika kama hatuna ulinzi wa nje, lakini kuna ulinzi wa ndani ambao pia hawalali. Mimi Mheshimiwa Spika, nimefanya kikosi cha GSU miaka 9, najua kazi gani ngumu wale wanafanya. Tunaishi msituni, unaishi kule kwa msitu paka unafanana na nugu. Kazi ngumu. Iko wakati sisi tulikuwa tumekaa katika, nikupa mfano, tulikuwa Chepchoina, tunapambana na wezi wa mifugo, kukatokea shida Mount Elgon huko juu, sisi tuko katikati, ikabidi kelele tumesikia za wananchi juu, tukabidi sisi tutoke pale katikati kuenda huko juu, na wale majambazi kule juu wanarusha risasi kuja chini ambazo zinawaka moto tunaziona, lakini we have to go, lazima kwenda kuokoa maisha. Kwa hivyo hata vikosi vyetu vya usalama wa ndani wanapata shida sana, ambayo ni vizuri zaidi pia nao waingizwe katika hiyo kombo, wapewe heshima zao. La mwisho, naona time yangu nataka kwenda, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba huduma za afya kwa hawa askari ni muhimu sana. Wengi wanatoka katika hizi sehemu za wakati wameretire, wamestaafu, wanakuwa wagonjwa sana, hawawezi kujitibu kwa sababu hakuna fedha wanapata za kutosha ambazo wazajiendeleza. Ni zile huduma za afya tuwakubalie, hata kama yeye kwa vile alifanya kikosi cha ulinzi wa usalama ndani na nje, wapewe hata kama wamestaafu, waweze kuendelea na huduma hiyo, kwa sababu wengi huwa wagonjwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimepiga attention miaka 9 mpaka nasikia hichi kiuno sengine kina tabu, lakini inabidi nijitibu mwenyewe, ambao serikali ingetosha ichukue jukumu hilo. Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa watu wako na familia, wengi wao familia zao wanarandaranda, hawasomi baada wamestaafu. Tuwasaidieni wawe kila
vyema. Member for North Imenti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, not that I'm raising because I counted and you told me you're following the list, so that is why I wanted to speak according to the list. And this is not the first time, Mr. Speaker, you are doing this to me. I'm a senior member as well, so I have to be respected as well, but that is not the question today. The question, Mr. Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in supporting this motion of the establishment of boarding protocols for Kenya Defence Forces. But Mr. Speaker, it is not just the Kenya Defence Forces which should be given the priority. It is all uniformed officers, because I believe even the police officers who guard us at night when we are sleeping, they need to be respected as well. Like Honorable Benzema has said, even the GSU who go to fight the bandits are officers who need respect. Mr. Speaker, it is not just regarding aeroplanes or aircraft when they board, because like you said, many of them probably cannot even afford to go on a plane. But Mr. Speaker, we need to give them special passes to access medical care, to go in front of the line, if there is a line in front of even the members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, because they need, even if they go to a banking hall, if they stand in a queue and there is an emergency, who will protect the people? So, Mr. Speaker, we need to put the protocols. And Mr. Speaker, it is a pity that the other day we lost General Ogolla and his colleagues, Brigadier Said and all of them. And people, the only thing they could think of, the people who were there, the only thing they could think of was to steal the items on the people who are either dead or who are fighting for their lives. Mr. Speaker, we need to get over this thing of accidents, even car accidents, where people try to steal from the unfortunate who have been involved in accidents. Mr. Speaker, it should prick the conscience of this country, of our people. How far can we fall down? Because if there is an accident today on the Meru-Nanyuki Road or Meru-Nairobi Road, and something, we're not saying that we want to have accidents, but something happens, and you will see a lot of people just rushing. Some of them will be helping, but some will be helping themselves to the watches, to the wallets, to the personal belongings of the accident victims. Mr. Speaker, we, as well as we condole with General Ogolla's family, because his wife even comes from Meru County, and we say sorry to him and to the family, but we even need to remember that there were others who died with General Ogolla. There was Captain Soro, who was buried maybe the next day, Brigadier Said Swale, and others as well, Colonel Kitani. So we need to remember all who died in the line of duty, as well as the ones who are dying, because as we are speaking right now, we have a burial in Bore constituency of an army officer who was killed by bandits stealing our cows and goats in Meru County. Mr. Speaker, we need to get to the bottom of this, and we need to see how we are going to do more for our uniformed officers, because they deserve it, and it's not that they don't deserve it. So I congratulate my sister, Captain Rueda, for this, because I think it's right, but we need even to add that any public place, the uniformed officers, not just the KDF, all uniformed officers, wherever they go, they are provided with VIP entrance so that they can be served. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support.
Thank you. Member for Isiolo South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to air my views. One for one, I will take the earliest opportunity equally to send my condolences and that one of Isiolo South, the great people of Isiolo. Condolences to the all soldiers who have fallen. In fact, one of them comes from my area, and we always pray for them that God will rest their souls in eternal peace. Mr. Speaker, this is now becoming more or less like monotonous. What is happening in Kenya? Death out of plane crashes carrying distinguished people. It has happened. And this thing has something to do cattle rustling, clan rivalry, and all these things. For how long are we going to go to all this whenever we are going to send some dignified people, sending to sort out some of these issues, barbaric issues, like cattle rustling and ethnic clashes? And then in the end, the result is that people's lives are lost. We have lost enough, and I don't know how long we are going to wait for until we try to remove some of these things, these barbaric cultures of clan rivalry, of banditry, and all these things. To the point, to the motion, I'm also thanking Captain Rueda for presenting this one. It is timely because the mood of the country is about KDF because of the death of the personnel. And I think it's the high time we have to think about. It's just too little to be given this protocol, because it's rewarding them and motivating them and giving them, okay, that they are recognized wherever we are. That one will still, although we have done very little in trying to motivate our people, we have seen them in the war fronts in Somalia, we have heard about them, and they have lost their lives in many places trying to defend us. So giving them this small token of appreciation, I think is in line, and I support. Thank you.
Member for Kwale. The Honorable Masito, this is your opportunity.
Hoja iliyoko mbele ya bunge hili wa Lamu Mashariki. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kusema ukweli, kwanza nianze kutoa pole zangu kwa familia ya wale wanajeshi waliofariki hivi majuzi katika mkasa ule wa ndege. Itakuwa si vibaya serikali kuangalia na kuchunguza kwa kina Nasema poleni kwa familia, na pia katika mswada huu wa kuangalia ndugu zetu basi niseme asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Pia nitoe pole zangu kwa familia ya wanajeshi wetu waliofariki hivi majuzi kwa mkasa ule wa ndege. Niseme pole sana. Na pia sisi Waislamu, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaamini kweli mauti yako, na kila mtu aliyezaliwa lazima siku moja atafikwa na mauti, na hakuna kitakachobaki katika hii dunia. Lakini mauti yakiwa yametokea kwa njia ya kutatanisha, si vibaya kufanyiwa uchunguzi na kujulikana kiini cha mauaji yale au cha kifo kile. Basi Mheshimiwa Spika, nikimuunga mkono dadangu Mheshimiwa Rueda, mbunge wa Lamu Mashariki, hoja hii iliyoko mbele ya bunge hili ya kuwatetea au kuwasaidia wale ndugu zetu wanajeshi au katika jeshi la polisi lililoko katika nje na ndani ya taifa hili kwa kazi nzuri sana wanayoifanya, lakini mimi naona serikali yetu bado haijawatambua. Mheshimiwa Spika, wanajeshi wanafanya kazi ngumu, wanafanya kazi ya kujitolea ambayo hata mimi na wewe Mheshimiwa Spika, nina hakika tukipatiwa tutaiona ni kazi ngumu. Wanakaa nje siku nyingi au masaa mengi mbali na familia zao, ambapo mimi binafsi ingekuwa kazi ngumu kwangu kukaa mbali na familia yangu kuhudumia taifa. Ningependa serikali iwaangalie, wabunge wapate heshima mahali popote wanapotembea. Wanajeshi wapate heshima mahali popote wanapotembea. Wapate makazi mazuri. Waheshimike wakati wanaposafiri na wakati pia mahali wanapoishi. Utapata hata sehemu zao za makazi na malazi ni duni sana. Ingekuwa vyema katika hali ya kuwaheshimu kwa kazi ngumu wanayofanya, wapatiwe ile tunaita priority kila mahali wanapoingia. Hawa ni ndugu zetu na tutaishi na wao, na tunajua kazi yao wanaoifanya ni kazi ya kujitolea, lakini mishahara yao, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanapata mishahara duni sana. Na pindi wanapostaafu, wanajeshi hawa mara nyingi maisha yao huwa ni duni kwa sababu ya yale mapato ambayo walikuwa wakipata wakati wakihudumia taifa hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimekutana na wanajeshi wengi sana ambao wanaishi maisha ya uchochole. Miaka imesonga, hawezi kufanya kazi yoyote. Wengine wanaenda mpaka amesharitaya kutoka kwa jeshi, lakini anatafuta kibarua katika hoteli zile zilizoko kule kwetu upande wa pwani. Unakuta anatafuta kibarua tu afanye kwa hoteli kama security officer. Ni jambo la aibu. Tunapenda na wao pia wakistaafu waweze kuishi maisha mazuri, wao na watoto wao pia waweze kupata elimu na maisha yaweze kuendelea vizuri. Mheshimiwa Spika, hakuna watu wengine watakaowatetea isipokuwa ni nyumba hii idumishe na itengeneze sheria maalum ya kuweza kuwalinda ndugu zetu wale wanajeshi. Basi niseme asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na naunga mkono hoja hii iliyoko mbele ya bunge hili iliyoletwa na dadangu Captain Ruweida, mheshimiwa mbunge wa Lamu Mashariki. Asante sana Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. Member for Kilifi North.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion that the Honorable Ruweida Obo has brought, a very important motion. Honorable Speaker, our armed forces deserve a lot of respect. They sacrifice a lot for this country to put this country safe and to ensure that our borders, in and without our borders, we are safe. And therefore, to give them just that one privilege, that when it comes to boarding, just like we see in other jurisdictions in this country, we hear women and children, then we hear armed forces, then you hear senior citizens, just that protocol, that recognition, so that they do not queue like any other person. And I would like it even to be expanded to other places where even in the banks, the general does not have to queue, you know, when he comes for service, because he has sacrificed. These are people who are always on the firing line, and we would like to accord them that. But more important also, Honorable Speaker, is also to look at the welfare, because this is part of welfare of our armed forces. The greatest welfare that we can accord our armed forces is for them to be able to use equipment that is safe, equipment that is solid, not equipment that will backfire on them. For example, if you see, we've had very many accidents, air accidents especially, involving equipment or machinery or aircrafts, especially for the armed forces and the police. We have lost a significant number. As a country, we must review that so that our military are accorded equipment that can help them manage their trade better. But I also want to say here, Honorable Speaker, as we take care of the military, we also need to take care of our state officials. Honorable Speaker, I have looked at the presidential jet. The presidential jet has been there. In books, probably it is written off. But because we are a country that we are, we still want our president to travel on the same presidential jet. That presidential jet is piloted by the Kenya Air Force. The people who work in that presidential jet are Kenya Air Force officers. Just like we want to buy equipment for these others, we also need to give these officers who man the presidential jet a jet that can assure them of their safety as they travel from one place to the other carrying the president and his entourage. We must, as a country, budget for a new presidential jet so that we can retire this current presidential jet and have another one. And this House has the responsibility, Honorable Speaker, to start putting a budget line and the first budget so that...
Honorable Ndindi, Honorable Ndindi,
Honorable Ndindi Nyoro is...
Honorable Ndindi, I want you to listen to the Honorable Baya, because he's speaking to you.
Yes, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, please sit closer to me here so that you can hear what I'm saying. I am saying, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro and your budget committee, you need to put a budget line in the current budget to start budgeting for a new presidential jet, even if it's not William Ruto who will use it, but the next president of this country should be secured, his flight should be secured by having a new presidential jet. This presidential jet that is being used now is an old machine, is an old equipment that now must be retired and probably put in the museum so that those people who never knew about Honorable Daniel Arap Moi, never saw his reign, we credit him for buying that jet that particular time so that even Roku can go and see that jet because he was not there during Arap Moi's time. But I want to emphasize, Honorable Speaker, we have an obligation to provide the president and his entourage a safe equipment in the air as they travel to represent this country. That we must do with urgency, and I think we can find the money to buy that new equipment, including the Deputy President's plane. I have traveled with him, you know, once, and I know the quality of that aircraft. It needs to be replaced so that we can keep everybody safe. If we want to keep our armed forces safe, let's give the head of state, who is the commander-in-chief, also a safe equipment to travel in this country and outside the country. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
For Mosop. Honorable Ruku, your chance will come.
Ruku.
Definitely.
Constituency yako ni ndogo sana. Hata ni ya juzi. Switch off.
Member for Mosop.
You can even start talking on mine.
No, you're out of order. Honorable Ruku, you're out of order. Totally. You see me your seat. Member for Mosop. Come and use this one. You cannot place the member for Mosop. What is wrong with the mic? Wrong with the, come and use this one that is on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity that you've given me. Allow me, first of all, to send my sincere condolences to the families of the soldiers that we did lose last week. I want to sincerely send my condolences to the family of Ogolla and the rest of the soldiers who were involved in the helicopter crash while they were in the line of duty. Very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that we did lose very, very valuable people to this nation just because of mechanical errors. It's unfortunate also the Deputy Majority Leader mentioned the concerns that he has over the plane of His Excellency the President and his team, which actually makes me wonder if we are now safe. But Mr. Speaker, these soldiers serve this country every single day. They go to risk areas, they sacrifice their lives on behalf of the people of this country. We lost Colonel Sawe, Major Sawe from my constituency, coming from the same village. A young man who served in the KDF for quite some time, and he has helped a lot of people. It is very unfortunate that we've lost such a talent at a very young age, and I want to send also my condolences to his wife, his children, and the people of Mosop, that we've lost a very, very crucial individual who really contributed a lot to the development of our constituency. And the rest of the soldiers as well who was lost in that particular crash. And I want also to support this motion by Honorable Rueda, a member of Parliament, for two reasons. One, Mr. Speaker, these soldiers sacrifice too much, but we don't really appreciate what they do. In most of the countries when you travel, they give first priority to those who have served the country, those who are in service, and those who have even retired, those who are active and those who have retired, before anybody else boards, either the first class and then they stay the servicemen. They do that because they want to appreciate of what they have done or the services that they've rendered to their nation. And so this particular motion that they are urging the national government through the Ministry of Roads and Transport to encourage the local airlines to establish priority boarding protocol for the Kenya Defense Forces and also the Special Forces, I do support, because it is the least we can actually do. Because every time we are asleep, most of these people, they don't sleep because they want to make sure that our nation is safe. And most of the time, we truly don't just think about them. When they come home, we want to celebrate them, but we don't just give it back. Most of them, Mr. Speaker, once they retire, they live a very horrible life because either the salary was low, they were not prepared, and so when they get sick, they have to really resort to many other things. But I want to support most of the members who have really suggested that we establish a health insurance program for servicemen so that years after they've retired or they've gone home, they will continue to access good service, good medical service that is going to actually make a difference in their families and in them because they sacrifice a lot during their time in service. So I do support this particular motion to give them priority boarding in all airlines so that they just, they actually feel that they are being appreciated and we are actually giving them an opportunity so that they actually feel that they have done something for this country. So I stand here to support the motion and also to pass my sincere condolences to the families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Member for Nyeri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I start to give my condolences to the family of Major General Ogolla and our soldiers. Also in Nyeri County, we lost one soldier, George Magondo. Honorable Speaker, I also want to support the motion. Considering the members of the forces, the way they face life-threatening risks as they carry out their duties in those areas. And I would urge the leaders from those areas to come together and see how we can have peace, because you can see now we have lost our soldiers and we've been losing children and mothers. It is also important to accord the special privileges to our soldiers as they are our brothers and sisters. I also want to urge leaders in this House, we should stop playing politics, the way people are saying that maybe there was something, and that is why now what happened. We want to urge our leaders to allow the government to do the investigation, and we also need to consider that they have the Ogolla's family and our soldiers, they have families and children. We need to be sensitive. Honorable Speaker, in Baringo, West Pokot, we've been having those chaos all along, and we have a committee called National Cohesion. We would urge the chair and the members of National Cohesion to come together, go visit those areas and know exactly what is happening. All the same, my final, I just want to say, Honorable Rueda, congratulations, this is long overdue. Let us support our soldiers, let us support our families, and I'm sure things will be fine. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Migori.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. First, I want to congratulate my sister for bringing this motion to the floor. We thank Almighty God for the families that lost their beloved ones, for giving them strength, and we ask Allah to give them more and more strength. Mr. Speaker, the plight of our soldiers is not just, as much as I support the motion, it is not just about giving them the protocol they deserve. They deserve respect. Respect starts from the highest office to the smallest office. And without being referred to as politics or politician, I think we owe Kenyans and most General Ogolla in his death an apology. What we saw during his mass, where he was being blamed on something that God knows if he did or not. But in the African community, a dead person is given respect. I think it is very wrong for someone to come out and mention the things that were mentioned about General Ogolla. At the same time, you sit down and wipe your tears. It's mockery to the dead. It's mockery to God. So I am requesting the government of Kenya to apologize to Kenyans and respect that the defense forces do not do politics, do not eat politics, do not practice politics, do not dance with the politicians. They are out there to protect us and protect our land. And so they deserve dignity of highest order. On behalf of Kenyan government, as the woman representative of Migori County, I apologize to Kenyans and the family of General Ogolla. The Christians who worshipped with him said he was a man of integrity, a man who valued his job more than anything else, and you can see in his lifestyle how much he valued his country. It is absurd, and I request that God please forgive us for mentioning General Ogolla in his death in such a manner that we did. May you, Allah, please forgive us. Mr. Speaker, our defense team, this is the first time in the history of Kenya that we have lost such an important person of the defense team. I am wondering, what has the government thought of as the emotions that were shed during General Ogolla's death, other than his immediate family? There's a family that he worked with for 40 years. And in particular, I saw a lady who wept with a lot of pain. I don't know how close she was to her boss, but I'm imagining how many of them were weeping inside. How many of them were praying that I wish our general lived. I'm requesting the government to offer emotional support to the defense team, especially those who are seen on screen crying bitterly and sadly about the loss of the general. So please let us support them emotionally. If we leave them like this, that is a very sensitive area, and knowing that he has lived there for 40 years with them, just leaving them there.
What is out of order, Honorable Ruku?
Mr. Speaker, I think it's not appropriate for the honourable member to bring in a lady who was mourning and trying to cast aspersions that this lady was extremely close to the general in a manner she would want to know. Please, it is important to leave the family of the late Ogolla to mourn in peace.
Thank you.
It is unfortunate.
Thank you. For
the honor.
That will pass. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to repeat that because he has commented about it. It might go out in the wrong way. Please give me the honor to do so. My dear brother, Mheshimiwa, I meant that was his staff. That was a junior, and they had a relationship at work. And the way the lady was weeping, she deserves to be supported emotionally. And not only her, there were also men in uniform who were weeping, and they deserve to be helped emotionally. Please don't bring petty issues into a major issue like this. Be sensitive enough yourself and use the right words when I'm using the right words. I am pissed off with that statement because I'm a Muslim woman and I know how much we respect our fellow women. That is insensitive of you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
North. This is your chance to contribute on this particular motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to, first of all, congratulate Honorable Rueda for this motion. It's a very timely motion when this nation is going through some challenges as far as security of our nation is concerned. Mr. Speaker, motivation within the military service, and not only military service, but also within the security sector is extremely important. How do we ensure the motivation in the military is achieved? One, the former General Torje came up with very, very key rules which are still guiding military up to date, so that military can be motivated, and that was to ensure when the army as a force is the CDF this year for the period of 4 years, then the next is rotational. We can go to Navy, we can go to Air Force. This is to increase the motivation within the military service. Mr. Speaker, this motion is also to ensure that the military is able to conduct its mandate, constitutional mandate, to defend this nation from external aggression or even internal aggression in the most appropriate and effective manner. Therefore, it is important to support this, Mr. Speaker. I happen to be in late Ogolla's burial in Siaya. I attended the send-off, and it was a very dark day. And it was not only the dark day for the people of Siaya, but also to all the family members who lost their loved ones in that crash. And they come from different parts of this country. Mr. Speaker, it is important we have improvement of military equipment, not only the arsenals of the military, but also the day-to-day equipment which they use, whether it is aircraft, whether it is the vehicles which they use. We must be able, this House must be able to be accountable as far as the budget which is allocated each and every year, which goes to improvement of the equipment which military uses, must be properly accounted for. And not only the military in terms of the generals and the service men who work in the military, but also the commander-in-chief of the Defense Forces of Kenya. The aircraft which the commander-in-chief uses must also be modernized. It is true, the Air Force One, which the president uses, cannot be able to transfer from Kenya all the way to New York, from Kenya all the way to Europe. It is not indeed a very safe aircraft as it is at the moment. At this point, Mr. Speaker, it is good also to congratulate the late President Moi for achieving to ensure military discipline. Kenya military becomes one of the most disciplined forces we have in Africa, but also in the world. This is through effort of the late President Moi, plus other presidents who have served this nation, and the generals who have served the nation. Mr. Speaker, it is not only the military, but also the police service. It also requires ring fencing its budget so that the budget can be able to be used properly, because we are having quite a number of challenges as far as police service of this nation is concerned. Mr. Speaker, we need to move with speed as a House to ensure those who are in security, whether in military or in police service and other security agencies, are well resourced, including the National Intelligence Service. They are well resourced to ensure the security of our nation becomes a priority. That's the only way we can be able to grow our economy. That's the only way we can be able to have investors coming in this economy, and our economy can be able to be predictable, and therefore creating more jobs for our youth and for the future generation. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
This chance goes to the member for Narok North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion on the establishment of a priority boarding protocol for KDF and KSF personnel. I want to support this motion, and I support this motion because this is very important to our soldiers. These are people who don't sleep. These are people who are never with their families. They are always away from their families. And when we look at our relatives who are in KDF or soldiers, you look at them and sympathize with them. Because these people have no time to develop their families or to be with their families and take care of their families. So, for us as members of Parliament, we would like to look into this issue and go to a step ahead to make sure that we look into their welfare. Because these people, after retirement, they are overused in the work they do in their career. so that when they come back home, they are not even able to do anything else. And when they come, these people are not healthy because they have never gotten an opportunity to go for the insurances so that they can go to the hospitals that they need. So these people, we should look at them as our brothers and appreciate the work they do. And we shall appreciate the work they do by making sure that we look at their welfare. The condition they live in is not very good. So I think it is time we take a step to make sure that they live in the way other Kenyans live. So I take this opportunity to thank the Member of Parliament for Lamu East for bringing this motion. It is an important one, and I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Sotik. You'll have to put your card here. You won't get a chance to speak if you have no card. You can be sure about that. Just go up there. There's a place they leave a temporary card over there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute on this very important motion. On the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in condoling the families and the nation on the losing of our gallant soldiers during the helicopter crash. Mr. Speaker, while I condone the families and relatives of all the 10 soldiers who passed on, I want to single out our General Ogolla. Mr. Speaker, I watched the funeral service from beginning to the end. And Mr. Speaker, what came out is that this was one of the best soldiers in this country. And Mr. Speaker, I, on behalf of the people of Sotik, want to request that as part of our honor for this general, I want to request that one of the streets in Nairobi be named after General Ogolla, so that it can remain as part of our history. Mr. Speaker, I want to state here that I have had an opportunity to work with these soldiers very closely when I had a tour duty in the northern Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, I want to attest here that these people are working in very difficult situations. Mr. Speaker, when they are out there, you cannot understand what they go through. But Mr. Speaker, I have seen them, and I know what they are going through. And Mr. Speaker, when Honorable Member from Lamu East brings in this very important motion, I allowed her. I want to thank her because it is very timely. Mr. Speaker, I've also worked in West Africa, and I managed to visit these people when they were on a mission in Sierra Leone and Liberia. And Mr. Speaker, the kind of honor which they are given out there is unparalleled. Mr. Speaker, in Liberia, for example, people talk about Kenyans, not because of ambassador, it's because of the soldiers who work in that country. They work very well and they serve this country very well. There are others who worked in other places like Yugoslavia, in Somalia, for example, where they have really gone through a lot of hell. And Mr. Speaker, when we ask for travel privileges for these Kenyans who are working hard for this country, I don't think we are asking for too much. We are just asking that they be given those privileges. And Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Lamu East MP to also look at a way of benchmarking so that we know what happens in other countries. How are soldiers given privileges in other countries. Because, Mr. Speaker, when you travel in the airport, you find that some soldiers from other countries are given better privileges to go through the airport, and ours are not given. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that this motion can be discussed more so that we can be able to know what can be done. And we want the best, Mr. Speaker. So we are thanking the mover of this motion, but we want her to go in depth so that he can be able to give us the best practices in this world, so that these people of Kenya can be given the best. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say that we also need to look at the lives of families who are left behind, because these families are also suffering. The government needs to look at this issue, and so that the families can also be able to live in a better life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the motion.
Thank you. Member for Game.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to support the motion by the Honorable Captain Rueda Obo. And I think she edifies the importance of our military in securing the safety of this country and ensuring that our borders are safe. The role that they are carrying for the country is a sacrifice on itself. So I totally agree with her that they should be given preference in terms of protocol when they're boarding our local airlines. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, allow me to pass my condolence to the passing of General Ogolla. I had a rare privilege on the 7th of October 2023 to share a meal with him and the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, in his house in Siaya Alego. Of course, the Honorable Karoli was also a part of the delegation that visited General Ogolla. The wife and the family, together with their relatives, welcomed us to the home of General Ogolla with a lot of hospitality. We had a good meal and we shared a lot of jokes in that moment. So my heart goes out for General Ogolla, a man who had a great demeanor, a man whose heart was full of a lot of humility. And we as a community has lost a great son of Lowland. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, allow me to welcome in the Speaker's Gallery the officials of the Africa Youth Leadership Forum. This is a forum consisting of Secretary Generals of universities in the country, including, it's a long list, I just read very quickly, including Brian Wekesa of St. Paul's University, Christopher Nyakundi Thomas of Kabak University, Peter Wekesa of African Nazarene University, Levis Omusa of Machakos University, Wekesa Tibo of Ramadan of University of Embu, Maurice Mzalendo of Tharaka University, Anode Nyangenya Umaye of Scott Christian University, Remy Ouma of MMU, Kennedy Wangari of Strathmore University, Mwangi Peter Mbugo of Marist International College, Carlos Abich of Mount Kenya University, Brother Philip of Presbyterian University, Alex Jorego of Southeast Kenya University, Shishia Baraza of Kiriri Women, Gati Lavenda of Kabarak University, Ramesh Saxena of University of Nairobi, Sharon Musiaka of TUM, Runio Kepngiticho of KCA University, Timothy Gitongo of JQAT, Emmanuel Yogo of Machakos University, Kenneth Daudi Misioki of St. Paul's, Felix Maina Muchai of Pan-Africa, Ogise Brown of University of Nairobi, Mark Bryan of Mukundi of Africa International University, and Lewis Protas of JQAT, and Michelle Maura of KU. They are also accompanied by their secretariat members. We should welcome them to Parliament this afternoon and hold our proceedings. Thank you. And at this point, I'll give the Honorable Osoro
who I'm told is the interlocutor, to say a word in a minute. 1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, is just to welcome the student leaders from the 25 universities of our country, the Secretary Generals. Honorable Speaker, these students came for a mentorship program organized by the Bunge Fellowship that meets every Wednesday at 6 a.m. in the morning to 8. And today, last week we had chairman for the mentorship program. And the mentor then was Honorable Elachi. And today, in their wisdom, the Bunge Fellowship felt like I should be the lead in terms of mentorship, assisted by the Honorable Kagushia. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to welcome them, wish them all the best even as they continue pursuing their dreams, and tell them that today you may be seated in the Speaker's gallery, but by God's grace, a day, tomorrow or a day after tomorrow, you'll find yourself in plenary. So welcome and thank you very much.
Honorable members, Honorable Watch, I think the time for this motion is spent. The time for this motion is spent. I now call upon the mover of this motion, the Honorable Rueda Obo, to reply. She's well advised. She's going to do what you need her to do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will contribute 1 minute to 5 members. One, Anthony Olwech Madare. Is he here? Ayuko? Okay. Another one, okay. Let's go to Harrison Kombe, Magarini. 1 minute, please.
How many minutes are you giving out, Honorable Rueda? Just call them out so that we know them, all of them together. So you said Anthony Olwech, Harrison Kombe. The next one is? It's her chance, not yours. It's her chance to say who she's giving, not you to say.
Okay. Anthony Olwech, Harrison Kombe, Mheshimiwa Shakil Shabir, Pauline Samburu, County Women Rep, and we can put 2 more because Mheshimiwa Osoro has already spoken. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Can give another one. The 2 gentlemen there.
Okay. I would request that each of you take.
So 5 members, 5 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable Watch.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Rueda, for giving me this 1 minute and for bringing this motion. I join the rest of Kenyans and my colleagues in condoling General Ogolla, as well as the other 9 gallant generals who lost their lives. Honorable Speaker, apart from the motion that we have put on the order of precedence in terms of protocol for boarding, I would like to suggest that this motion itself must not remain as a motion. This motion must look at other regulations, including the order of precedence, and to look at circumstances in which the propositions and the ideas that have been brought here can be brought in way of an amendment bill. We must also look at other travel protocols. Who accompanies a CDF when he goes on such visit? What kind of visits must he go to and not go to? 707 Boeing airplane has now been subjected to test, meaning that we must look at.
Okay, the Honorable Kombe. You got a minute.
Asante Mheshimiwa Speaker. Asante Mheshimiwa Rueda kwa kunipatia hiyo dakika moja. Nami nipate kutuma risala zangu za rambirambi kwa jamii walioondokewa na wapendwa wao. Na niongeze kusema kwamba mbali na kuwapatia nafasi maafisa wakuu wa jeshi katika kuabiri ndege, pia hali hiyo hiyo ingeweza kuongezewa kwa maafisa wengine ambao bila wao haingekuwa rahisi afisa wa jeshi kuweza kufikia ile ngazi ile. Nikizungumza hivi, tunao maafisa katika ngazi ya kielimu, tunao maafisa katika ngazi ya kidaktari,
ambao wanastahili kupewa heshima katika huo muongozo wa ni nani anastahili kuja kwanza. Niseme asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa hayo yakaweze kuwekwa kwenye fikra, na tunapopata mswada wenyewe tutazidi kuchangia. Asante.
Thank you. The Honorable Shakil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, first I want to thank Honorable Captain Rueda for allowing me that 1 minute. I want to give my condolences to the Army and the loss of the KDF staff. Mr. Speaker, sir, the issue, I support the proposal, but it stops by only talking about protocol on boarding. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are many times I've seen Army officers in uniform sitting outside waiting for boarding. I think we should extend this particular privilege to the VIP lounge, and if VIP lounge is allowed. We have this VIP lounge at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport domestic, which seems to have been taken over by Kenya Airways, who have never paid anything to the local.
Thank you. The Honorable Pauline Langrus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time to send my condolences to the family of General Ogolla and the other soldiers that lost their life through the tragic accident. Mr. Speaker, I want to say pole to the families, and also I believe that this kind of accident or a tragic accident should send a strong message to the government, that because if we had peace in the region that the accident happened, I'm sure we could not have lost the lives of the soldiers. And the counties that have lacked security for a long time, Mr. Speaker, we have lost so many young people, and this should send a clear message to the government that we need to invest. We need to restore peace within the counties that have fighted for a long time, and also take care of the properties of the people that are losing their lives and properties every day. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to eulogize with the family.
Be mindful of the fact that you only have 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to eulogize General Ogolla and the Garand soldiers that we lost in that tragic accident. And Mr. Speaker, in eulogizing the soldiers, we say in every occurrence, we need to learn lessons. Now that we lost our gallant soldiers and we've already lost them, Mr. Speaker, the best thing as a country we can do is to learn lessons. One, Mr. Speaker, this is not the only outdated and old aircraft that the forces and other senior people in this country are using, Mr. Speaker. So we should not wait again until we have such another accident by the forces or a senior person in government, and then, Mr. Speaker, we start looking startled, Mr. Speaker, because I believe even the plane that is being used by the President, the Deputy, and other senior people in the forces are these outdated planes, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of banditry. We lost these generals because of banditry issues. It's the high time as a government that we cracked this banditry issue once and for all, Mr. Speaker, because even families there.
Thank you. The Honorable Raila, you now have 2 minutes to wind up. You gave out all your time. Go ahead.
I need a few minutes. Okay, so I think 4 for me is enough. You can give 1 more.
You'll get 2 minutes, because that's what you have now.
No, I need them to continue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to clarify that the title captain, I'm not from the forces. I am a pilot by profession. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the leadership of the House and also thank all members for their contribution. For sure, Mr. Speaker, the role of KDF and Special Forces cannot be overemphasized. For members of Parliament to be in this House and carry out their duties, they require some people on the ground to safeguard them and their property and those are none other than KDF and Special Forces, who are at this moment are in the forest, walking in the forest, for us to be here. Mr. Speaker, so many soldiers have died for us in the past before this incident of General Ogolla and other officers. In some country, Mr. Speaker, when officers have gone for mission and their wives are taken by other men, such men are given heavy punishment by the court. But here in Kenya, there is no such provision. Mr. Speaker, some of the problem our officers go through are shocking. Mr. Speaker, some of the remarks that politicians make in this country contributes to suffering of our KDF in the country. Mr. Speaker, why we didn't put, okay, Mr. Speaker, I did not have any intention of neglecting the police in my motion. In fact, the Special Forces are members of the police who have undergone a specialized training. We want to appreciate the ones who walk in the forest and stay in the forest for us to do our work. Mr. Speaker, when I introduced this motion in the Parliament, the late General Ogolla was very happy. Several other senior military officers called me and appreciated the initiative. They said that as a country, we are going in you are heading towards the right direction because of working on the welfare of our military. Some of them said, at least someone is appreciating. There are people who can see what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, so this motion is just a small thing towards the appreciation of work that our KDF and Special Forces do. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, these things are happening elsewhere, like in the US, where the military desk is established in airport to serve military officers, just like diplomats and UN staff. Mr. Speaker, finally, Mr. Speaker, the implementation of this motion does not require any funding from the government, and therefore it is cost-free. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Members, the decision on this motion will be made the next time it's loaded in the order paper. Next order.
Order number 10, the Public Service Internship Bill, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2022, second reading.
Thank you. The bill is Honorable Naisula Lesuda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and I beg to move that the Public Service Internship Bill 2022 be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, the import of this bill is to establish a legal framework for the regulation of internship programs within the public service. Article 55 of the Constitution provides that the state shall take measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that the youth have access to entirely relevant education, training, and employment. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to ensure the provision of a monthly stipend, insurance, and other entitlements to persons engaged in internships within the public service for the duration of the internship program, and that is at the national level and also at the county government level, Mr. Speaker. The provision of stipend to interns is necessary as the interns contribute to the manpower of the organization by offering their professional skills as apprentices. Mr. Speaker, this proposed bill comes at a very crucial time in this country when our doctors are on strike, the interns, where they are saying that they have to be paid commensurate to the work that they are doing, Mr. Speaker. I will not want this conversation to hinder the debate or our mindset to just be tied to the issues of intern doctors, Mr. Speaker, when we'll be looking at this bill, but to look at interns across the public service sector, both at the national government and also at the county government level, Mr. Speaker. It is important to note that this bill, I started working on it in the last parliament, but I revived it in this 13th parliament, Mr. Speaker, because I know the great important role that our interns play in offering service to our country, Mr. Speaker. I remember when I joined the national broadcaster KBC, Mr. Speaker, after I finished my bachelor's. And I remember when I was recruited there as an intern, I was required to pay 1,000 shillings. This is an intern who has just completed her education, looking forward to get somewhere to get some skills and expertise in the field that I studied in. And I'm just from paying my school fees. I have nowhere else to get money. I'm expected to have transport money to go to work. And again, the institution that has offered me internship requires me to pay 1,000 shillings. And maybe at the position that I was in, I was able to afford my lunch, my transport, and even dressing. You're supposed to dress appropriately when you go to work. But there are some of my colleagues there who could not even afford that 1,000 shillings, Mr. Speaker. And so this really formed the basis of my experience as an intern to think that as institutions and as a government, we have to really look at interns when we employ them, because it's actually a form of also, it's really not a contract employment, but the manpower that the interns give. Actually, in some institutions, you'll find that the interns put in so many hours, even compared to those who are employed or those who are on contract, but they do not get a single cent, even just to motivate them for the work that they do, Mr. Speaker. I remember that personally, when I was an intern, I decided to give my best because I wanted that at the end of my internship, the institution will not want to get rid of me, but will want to actually employ me at the end of my service as an intern because of the kind of work that I had put. And I ensured that I worked so hard, just like those who were employed, Mr. Speaker, that when my internship came to an end, I was offered a job at KBC, Mr. Speaker. And so we cannot ignore the role that the interns play, Mr. Speaker. And one of the debates that has been coming up, and what I have been listening to most of my colleagues when we debate even about the intern doctors, is that we want to compare professions. We've just finished a motion here, Mr. Speaker, in regards to the military and our uniformed service, men and women. And we discussed the critical role that they play in this country, Mr. Speaker. If you again look at the doctors, you will see the critical role that they play. When you look at the teachers, they also play a critical role, Mr. Speaker. And so for me, it is always a debate, and I think that is what we should look at as a country, because also others are debating, but why are members of parliament earning this amount of money? Why are judges, actually judges are asking that they get pension because, they should be considered. And the argument should be that each profession should be looked as the profession that it is and the service that that profession offers. You might not be able to quantify or to say that a CAS does the same job as a doctor. No, let us look at the doctor as a doctor. Let us look at a teacher as a teacher, and the role that each profession performs in this country, because I believe that each profession in this country is key and plays a critical role in the economic development of our country and the socio-economic development of our country, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Samburu West, I hate to interrupt you. I know you're on a roll already, but you'll pick it up from there the next time this business is loaded in the order paper.
Thank you,
time
Mr.
now
Speaker.
being 1 p.m. Honorable members, this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, the 24th of April, 2024, at 2:30 p.m.